So, my name is Ejiro. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Ejiro Biaruko. I am a mental health professional. I'm one of the therapists in my therapist.ng. So, I work with children, adolescents, and young people with mental health disorder, and I work with people generally with mental health problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Ejiro. Oh my goodness, Ajibola's energy. This is the kind of energy that you guys are not clapping. Clap for these amazing people in our midst. Ajibola, thank you. Thank you for. I love this. Okay, Daniel, you too. I see you. I see you. Keep up the good work. Okay, nice to meet you again, Ejiro. Okay, Pamela. I hope I'm doing justice to that. Pamela, are you there? Okay, maybe she is engaged. Okay, Hanifat, over to you. If you're here, the mic is yours. Hanifat, I'm sure I'm doing justice to these names. Please God help me. Okay, Harriet. Harriet, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, everyone can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harriet. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and I work here in England. Thank you. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. Thank you for joining, Harriet. It's a delight to have you here. All right. So we go to the next person on our list. Favor. The floor is yours.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? So nice to be here in a space with you again. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. It's nice to have you here, Favor.
Okay. So hi everyone. My name is Brigette Mafivo, and I am dedicated advocate for mental health awareness. I also have a podcast called the Mental Health Podcast, where I, have experts on the field. We talk about ranges of topics that surround mental health. We've been able to create more awareness through my platform. And I am also an ambassador for my therapist Nigeria, where, we spread the good news of mental health advocacy. So my goal as a mental health advocate and also a podcaster is to create an environment where we have open conversations about mental health, where we understand it better and reduce the stigma that surrounds mental health. And I am really looking forward to connecting with each and every one of you here as I go further in my advocacy as a mental health advocate. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Favor. Thank you so much. Later in the conversation, maybe when the speakers have spoken, we are going to talk a little bit about mental health advocacy and how you can be a part of that. And Favor has been doing a remarkable job, so it's good to have you here, Favor, and well done with your podcast as well. All right, Omobolanle, are you here?
Yes, hi everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Omobalanle Orogo. I'm currently rounding up my master's program in the University of Lagos Clinical Psychology, and I'm also volunteering at Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. I'm privileged to be amongst all of you professionals. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. I am so happy that you are here, Omobolanle, attending an event like this. I'm sure that you will find this very helpful in your practice when you officially kickstart things. So it's good to have you here. Okay, Retsat, please correct me if I'm wrong with the pronunciation.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Retsat Dazang. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and a humanitarian worker. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you, Redsat. Thank you. You have a very beautiful name. All right, let's go to Sylvester. Sylvester, are you there? Okay. So I think we have just two more names to go and we will go into our next session. And I am so pumped. Sorry, our first session. Okay, Therapy Zina, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zina. I am a licensed clinical psychologist and an associate psychologist in the US. Yeah, so it's nice to be here and nice to meet every one of us. Thank you.
Awesome. It's nice to have you here. Well done with the good work, Therapist Zina. Okay, so I think we have Pamela, who has not introduced herself, and Gloria Tosin. I don't know if Gloria Tosin is in the room. Gloria Tosin, can you mute your mic and introduce yourself? Okay, so I welcome each and every one of us once again. It's nice to meet wonderful minds. I'm always wowed to know that so many people are very fervent in their belief surrounding mental health and desiring to see wellness as a regular occurrence amongst Nigerians. And we are the people pushing that work out. So a big well done to each and every one of us. All right. So we are going into our first session for the day. And I'm going to advise that please minimize distractions. I know it's a virtual event, but I tell myself that when events of this nature are presented to me, it's a rare and fantastic opportunity to learn something new. So I try as much as possible to contain distractions and ensure that I am mentally postured to learn as much as I can. So be prepared to ask questions, be prepared to learn, unlearn, and most importantly, just gain new perspective, gain fresh insights as to what these things entail. And I have a singular honor to invite the co-founder and chief executive officer of mytherapist.ng, Oluwaseun Raphael Afolayan, to take the first session. He will be handling understanding cyber threats. So with a round of applause, please welcome Oluwaseun Afolayan to the table, to the invisible table.
Mic check. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We are ready for you.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very
Sorry,
excited.
sorry, Oluwaseun. I'm sorry for interrupting. I see Red Sat and Gloria Tosin's hands up. Gloria Tosin, your hand is up. Is there any? Okay, please go ahead, Oluwaseun.
Yeah. So I think I saw a comment. She mentioned that it's noisy where she is, and that she's a volunteer counselor and a literacy tutor as well, and that it's good to be here. It's good to have you here as well. Welcome, Adeniyi. We just finished introductions, and you haven't missed a lot yet, except getting to know some of the fantastic people that we have with us here. My name is Oluwaseun Raphael. I am co-founder and I lead the engineering team at mytherapist.ng. So I think in a way I'm a bit qualified to talk about cybersecurity because it's something that I've had to experience or work with for most of my career as a software developer. And when it comes to cyber security and all, I like to think that yes, nobody is unhackable, nobody is really safe, right? But that doesn't mean that you are going to be reliant. Sorry, you're not going to be careful when you should, right? We hear of banks getting robbed every day, every now and then, but we still don't see the banks, letting go of their security. And the essence of that is that, I mean, we know that something bad can happen at any time, but you want to limit the bad things that can happen to you. right? You want to limit the occurrence. You want to make it difficult for something bad to happen to you, even though, you know, in the true sense of it, it's inevitable in the long run. And today we'll be learning about some cyber threats, and this is especially since, you know, therapy is a very sensitive field of work. There's a lot of um, delicacy, right? Especially when it comes to handling client information, and we're doing this to be able to equip our therapists and people who are intending to, you know, to go into therapy, as well as people who are already into therapy, to be able to protect themselves as well as their client information digitally. Yeah, so I'm going to go over to my first slide here, and we'll talk about some of the common cyber threats. We have phishing, which is really popular these days. We have malware, we have ransomware, we have vulnerability exploits, and we'll be going over some of this. And I'm going to hope that as the event goes on, as the workshop goes on, we are going to be able to have a better understanding of these threats and how to better protect ourselves against them. But before I get started, I would also like to mention that this is going to be a very interactive session. There will be pop quizzes now and then. I'll be calling people to answer some specific questions on some of the things that I'll be mentioning today. So I would like you to please pay attention so that when you're called upon, you will not be found wanting. Yes. And then I would also like to mention that we are going to have a session where everybody is going to fill a feedback form, and you are going to be able to give feedback on how the session was and some of the things that you learned in the session, right? We're also going to be having like a proper quiz for everybody here to fill. Those who pass the quiz are the ones that are going to be given the certificate of participation. So yes, I think we should get started right about now. Okay. Now, the most common type of phishing attacks, or the most common type of cybersecurity attacks that I've been able to see, I think in my span as an engineer, has been phishing attacks. And I like to think that it's because it's so easy to do that. It's so easy for anybody to fall victim of a phishing attack. I'm going to show you something, especially on my Twitter page here. And phishing itself, it's basically impersonation. You are impersonating somebody just so that you can gain something from them because you believe that they trust the person that you are impersonating, right? It's really easy, and I see a lot of people falling victim to it every day. Now, I think one of the first things I saw this morning when I woke up was a tweet by somebody calling for help, right? And I'm not sure if I should be showing the person's name here, but this person complained to the CUDA team that somebody from the CUDA team contacted her, and somehow all of her money has vanished. Right, all of our money has vanished. So if you see this, you know, all of this are things that happen because somebody fell victim to a phishing attack. And again, like I said, it's really easy to phish anybody online. All you just need to do is know who they trust, right? Know who they trust act as that person, seem believable, and watch them fall victim. Right? This person, and even somebody very, very close to me of recent, would post a support request on Twitter, which I think is a really bad thing to do, because when you do that, you're like basically inviting them to come to you. I think what happened here, or what might have happened here, is somebody made a complaint to Kuda Bank via Twitter, and somebody allegedly or supposedly from the Kuda Bank team came to our DMs to ask how they could help, right? And seeing that, oh, they were carrying the Kuda logo, or they were having Kuda Bank on their Twitter handles, they felt that that was the real Kuda, and they gave information that they should not have given to that person. And unfortunately, the information that they gave was sufficient for that person to use to debit money from their account. Right, and this, I believe, was somebody's life savings. Right, and that is how dangerous phishing can be. If you go to Twitter now and you search for Kuda Help, you are going to see tens of accounts, right? So with the handle Kuda Help, Kuda Help, Kuda Help. I think it's somehow become a little less than that. But if you check in 2022, 2023, there were about tons of almost legitimate accounts with the handle Kuda Help or Kuda Support, right? And these people would wait for you. Some would even wait for you to what they call it, to post a message or something like that. And if you see Kuda Support in its own now, there's about one Kuda App Support, Kuda Support Team, Kuda Apps, all of these people, right? They are all there impersonating Kuda Bank, hoping that people will fall victim. And that is how simple phishing could be. Now, this is when you invite them, right, to you. There are other cases where they come to you directly, where they see that, okay, your name or your phone number or something is in a list of Kuda Bank users. And, we here over here in Africa, we even have to be more careful, because data protection, data privacy laws are not forcefully implemented yet, right? I was seeing, I think, in the news sometime last week, where somebody was mentioning that the Minister for, I believe, Innovation and the Digital Economy here in Nigeria, his NIN slip, his NIN information was available to be purchased for 100 naira, right? And that is as intimate as these people can go. They know your address, they know your phone number, they know where you live, they know all of those things. And it's really, really easy to find what bank you belong to, right? So most of us here use OPay, and most of us here use PalmPay. If I have your phone number, I basically have your PalmPay account number. All I need to do is to be able to get your password, and I'm in. Right? Now, these people, sometimes it might not be very, very obvious to you that these people are scammers or hackers or something. And that is, that is good. But sometimes they go the extra mile to be able to seem really, really believable. They even go ahead to, put your personal information there to let you believe that, yes, these are the real deal. And sometimes it's not so. Sometime, I believe in January this year, I got an email from my co-founder, Dedoin, asking me for something. And of course, the name on the email was Dedoin Ajayi. The name on the email was Dedoin Ajayi. But I knew that this wasn't Dedoin, because number one, I knew how Dedoin types emails. Right? I knew how Dedoin types emails. So I felt that, this was like a normal request. This was a normal request that if I wasn't vigilant or being careful, I would have just sent what the person was asking for. But I was able to go into the email list, and I saw that the person, created an email account that looks almost exactly like Didoin's email, and then used that to send the message. And yes, I was able to to tell that it was a fake email because I knew Didoin's writing style. But that is because I have a personal relationship with Didoin. Now imagine your bank where you don't have a personal relationship with your bank, right? You don't know how your bank talks. You don't know the person behind the bank emails. Some of these things can just come in and you fall victim to it immediately. That is phishing. Phishing is just impersonating somebody to get something out of them. It could either be sensitive information. It could either be sensitive information. It could either be money from them or something. This all leads to impersonation, and that is what phishing is. Now, when we talk about spoofed emails, I believe I gave an account of somebody sending an email trying to make me think that they were somebody that I was close to and asking for something that I would naturally give to that person. Right now, there's social engineering, which I still believe till date. Phishing might have the highest results, but in terms of success rate, social engineering itself is one of the most successful types of cyber attacks. This one, you don't even think that anybody is out there to hack you, quote unquote. And what social engineering is just manipulating people, right? Manipulating them, to get something from them, right? If I wanted to socially engineer somebody, for example, I could call the person and tell them, oh, hi, I just heard about you, I like you, so and so and so on. And I get them to like me, I get them to to trust me. Sometimes it might even be falling in love with this person, right? Now, when those people have your trust and all, that is when they start to exploit you. That is when they start to exploit you. They will be to get access, and sometimes you might not even be the actual targets. Right? With social engineering, it could just be like a casual friendship. It could just be a casual friendship, and somehow the person gets access to you and uses the access that they have to you to get to the actual target, which could be your client or your friend or your colleague. And that's it, right? Nowadays, we would see people on Twitter post, oh, the last 5 digits of your phone number is how much I'm going to send to you. And then people start, commenting and saying, oh, the last 5 numbers of my phone number is 55312, right? And that information alone could be used to verify if the phone number that they have is your phone number, right? And I also want to let everybody know here that do not assume that nobody knows about you. This is 2024. I like to think that everybody here, every one of us, we all have a digital footprint. And of course, as therapists, you have to put yourself out there. You have to put your work out there. So yes, you do have to leave a digital footprint. And those footprints that you have, right, can easily be used against you. Okay? Let's see. Everyone here, right, when you were filling this form, you left your email, you left your name, and you left what you do in this form, right? you did that, and we have that information because it was necessary for the events that we're trying to plan. But imagine if somebody wanted to target therapists, for example, or target a particular subset of therapists. If the person got access to the information that you shared with us to sign up for these events, those information could be used against you, right? They could be used to build up a profile of who you are, and you could be the victim of the targeted social engineering attack. Now, do not assume that your identity at this time is confidential, right? Everybody that wants your email address now, that really wants it, knows how to get your email address, right? So just assume that everybody has your email address. And from your email address, having just one piece of information about you could be used to start an exploit. Something as simple as having your email address or knowing what bank you use, right? All of this could be used to build up a profile and gain access to you or who your client is. Right now, credential theft is also a form of phishing attack. Sometimes you would see somebody send you a link. Oh, this is the federal government's loan. This is the federal government 500,000 naira palliative loan. Click here to access your what they call it, to access your loan or your free money. And then when you do that, they ask you to type in your phone number, your email address, your house address, and something to access the loan, quote unquote. And you go ahead to fill that form, not knowing where that form is going to, right? And just like that, you've already sent your information to somebody that maybe has a bad need for it, right? Sometimes somebody could send you. So I even had one where somebody was doing an online beauty pageant, so to say. And this person that I really knew and trusted, texted me and said, "Hi, please, I'm competing in this beauty pageant. Can you please vote for me?" I'm really sorry about your experience, everybody. But yes, that is why we are having this conversation here. So the person sent that link and told me to please vote for the person. And I saw it. Immediately I saw the form, I knew that this was a scam. And not only was it a scam, it was a properly designed scam, because the website that was sent looked legitimate. To vote, you had to log in through your Instagram, right? You put in, and they copied Instagram's interface exactly the way it was, and told you to log in through Instagram to be able to vote for the person. Immediately I saw it, I just told the person that no, your WhatsApp account has been hacked. Right, so I called the person's phone number directly and told them that your WhatsApp account has been hacked, because I knew that they were not in that pageant, right? They had nothing to do with modeling or anything, right? So somebody gained access to our WhatsApp account and started sending messages impersonating her as the person that wanted votes for an online beauty pageant, targeting all of our contacts. Now, these kind of things, yes, they might be hard to believe, but out of, let's say, now, I personally have about 500 contacts on my phone, if not more. We have more people in our contacts, I believe. Out of, let's say, 500 messages that were sent out that day, and 500 people seeing that message that day alone, even if 10% of people fell victim for that, out of their good intentions, oh yes, this person is my friend, this person is my distant, I want to see them succeed. If only 10% of those numbers, signed up, the hacker already has, 50 plus Instagram accounts at his disposal, and they can use those 50 plus Instagram accounts to now start sending messages to followers of each of those persons as well, right? That's how crazy these things are. And you want to be really, really careful about who you give your information to and who is allowed to, to send you requests for information. Okay, so that is phishing attacks. That is how deadly they are. They are very, very successful, and it's not anything that you should take lightly, right? Somebody could send you an email asking you to log into a particular platform. You click on the link, and yes, the way the link or the website appears seems to be like the platform that you are used to logging in already, right? But there are things that could give that away. We'll learn some of those things later as the workshop progresses, hopefully, and I hope that we'll be able to stay vigilant when we are facing a phishing attack. Yes, I think the next will be a malware infection. Okay, this is a malware infection. Now, what is a malware? So you know that we have software, we have hardware. The same way we have both of them, we also have malware. Malware is just malicious software. Okay, either malicious software or malicious hardware, whichever one it is. But malware is malicious. That is the word that you should be really, really vigilant about. Okay, and malware, there's a lot of ways that malware could be spread. Okay, malware could be spread in various different ways that you will not know. Now, so I once used to have this friend that I used to play these games with, and one time this person sent me a screenshot of something. This person sent me a screenshot of something, and if I was not vigilant enough, I would have opened that screenshot and maybe saved it somewhere, right? But luckily, I opened it through WhatsApp, right? I opened it through WhatsApp, and of course, WhatsApp has some protections built in for some kind of photos. They strip something called EXIF, EXIF. EXIF is data that you can embed in things like pictures. So somebody sending you a picture, maybe through email, and asking you to download the picture, could be doing something to you and you would not know anything about it. Of course, it's just a picture, right? But that picture could contain some information that could be used to argue. Once you open up that picture, something else gets downloaded onto your computer without you knowing sometimes. And that thing being downloaded in your computer will just sit down there waiting for whoever sent it to activate it, right? During my software engineering days, I mean, yes, I am still actively a software engineer. But yeah, I started going deep into software itself by like using an operating system called Linux, Linux. Linux. And there are different versions of Linux available. There's Kali Linux, there's Parrot, and so on, right? My favorite was Kali Linux. With Kali Linux, it puts you in charge of everything about your computer. And that means that you could do a lot of things that an operating system like Windows would restrict you from doing, right? And in my experience using the operating system, I learned a lot of interesting things. I learned that I could open my computer and there's a particular website that I could go to and start looking at people's cameras, people's CCTV cameras. I could just go there. I could be looking at people's CCTV cameras. I could be looking at the CCTV camera in the house of somebody, in Abuja. I could be looking at the CCTV camera in the house of somebody in the UK, and they would not know. There was a lot of things that using that. Yes, there's a lot of things that using Linux allows you to do. Right? There's something called Evil Twin. Evil Twin is a tool that you can install on Linux computer, and it will let you like do crazy things. Okay, so you could maybe embed a script inside a PDF file, send it to somebody. Once the person opens that script, nothing happens to the person. The person doesn't know, but in one way or the other, I basically have control of that person's laptop. I can read the person's emails from my computer. I can see what the person is browsing from my computer. All using Evil Twin. And there's a lot, right? I think the most interesting tool I learned how to use was it's called Whitefish. Whitefish. That one was like really, really interesting because then it was very, very hard for you to be able to afford internet access. Right. So what you would do is look for people with Wi-Fi available, right? If you have Whitefish or something called Aircrack. So with Aircrack is kind of still there. So with Aircrack, you go near somebody's Wi-Fi and just run your Aircrack software. So you just open it. Forget all these things that you see on movies where somebody will type in 5 million keys. At the end of it all, you will now press the enter key. It will slam the enter key and tell you, bam, I'm in. That's not how hacking works. Hacking in real life, is a little bit different, right? You don't have to type in 5 million keys. Yes, I mean, back then, maybe you needed to, but now people have done things where like you can just open, as if you are browsing a laptop, right? Browsing a website. You don't even need to be a genius or someone that has white hair to be able to like be an hacker. There are like tools out there that that you can use. So with Aircrack, all I needed to do was take my computer near somebody's Wi-Fi, right? It will ask me to select the person's Wi-Fi. I will select the person's Wi-Fi, and then it will immediately start running 5 million different password combinations, right? And this 5 million different is not something that will take a day, or in less than 10 minutes, it will keep trying different passwords. So if your password is a 4-digit password, like 1234, right? Or 123456, all Aircrack needs to do is to try 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, try it like so, try different combinations of that until it reaches what your password is, right? Until it reaches what your password is. I want to share a Google screen here. Let me see. So, sorry, I'm going to take you guys away from my to-do list so that you don't spy into my private life. But yes, how long does it take to crack 1234 as a password? So, can you see it here? So if your password is something like 1234, right? If your password is 1234, a password of 1234, right? Please mute your mic. A password of 1234, there's only 10,000. I mean, yes, there is 9,999 different combinations, right? And there are tools that can try 300,000 combinations in 1 second, right? So your 1234 password doesn't even need to take any amount of time, right? If it is 12345, it will take slightly longer. Let's say if 1234 takes you about, let's say, 2 minutes, which I think is the time that it will take me on my current computer configuration here. I'm currently making use of a MacBook with 16 gig of RAM, right? It will take me 2 seconds to crack a password of 1234. That's how simple it is. If your password is 1234, so and it doesn't even have to be 1234. It can be 7322, right? Something of four digits, right? Because the algorithm will continually try different, like thousands of passwords per second, right? Until it reaches your password. Once it reaches your password and it is successful, aircraft will tell you this is the Wi-Fi password found. This is the password that we've tried and it has entered. Right? Even if your password is JESUS, like some people use, even if your password is JESUS, right? It will take maybe a minute max, right? Depending on how sophisticated the person trying to hack you is, right? So all of these are what you can do with malware, right? And the thing is that with malware, you don't even have to use your own laptop for it, right? You can use somebody else's laptop to hack somebody without the person knowing that their own laptop is being used to hack somebody else, right? There are different things that you can use for those, and that's how horrible this kind of threats are. You don't even know that something is going on, right? Sometimes you could see that you are using your laptop, even though you are not doing anything more than watching a movie with it. Your laptop is getting hot. Your laptop battery is draining fast. Unknowing to you that somebody is using the laptop with you and you don't know, right? Yes. As anybody watched there's this particular movie that is coming to my head, but I just can't piece the title. It's about a school teacher who became a drug producer. For some reason, the title of the movie is not coming to my head. It's a series. His name is Walter White. Walter White's Breaking Bad. Yes, Breaking Bad. There was one time when he had about millions of dollars somewhere. He had about millions of dollars somewhere, and somebody wanted to send it to him. But if somebody sent $1 million to his account, it will immediately alert the FBI and everything. What they did was they created a fake donation campaign, right? And one hacker somewhere who already has malware in people's laptops started using people's laptop to log into PayPal and sending this person money. Right? That's how sophisticated malware can be. And the funny thing is that somebody can just plug in so the most realistic thing that I've seen so far is in hacking will be somebody taking a USB device and plugging it to a laptop and leaving it there. Right? Something as simple as a USB device can be used to hack your laptop and you don't know. Right? So all of those are types of malware infections. There are viruses that people can install through various means. There are ones that even connecting to somebody's computer network can also affect you. And there are Trojans. Trojans are the ones that, so would I say I love them the most? And this is for most of us that go online to go and download free software, right? Because we cannot pay for Photoshop, we cannot pay for CorelDRAW. We go to websites to go and, yes, I've been there before. I'm also ashamed of myself, right? We cannot pay for Grand Theft Auto. We go online to go and download it from particular websites, right? And some of these websites, I mean, they are not charity organizations. They are not charity organizations. Yes, they have successfully cracked this tool. They have cracked Photoshop for you and all of that. But of course, nobody is Father Christmas, right? Most times it's give me something, so I give you something, right? Give me access to your computer, and I will give you a game to download. So you download it, not knowing that the person who is who is doing the cracking has already put something into what you are downloading, so that once you open it and you install the game, of course you'll be enjoying your Grand Theft Auto, right? But the person that put those things there is also using your own computer to mine Bitcoin, right? Or to be running different software for other people as well. He or she could even be using your laptop to host a server somewhere, and you will not know. That is how Trojans are. They take the form of legitimate software, but there's something there. If you know the tale of the Trojan horse, these people, were fighting with a particular country, right? And then they said, "Oh, okay, well, how do we get into this particular kingdom to go and kill them or to go and fight them?" Right? So what did they do? They said, "Oh, we are going to give these people a gift, a celebratory gift that, oh, we are sorry, so." I believe that's how the story went anyways. "We are sorry, we want to make peace. This is a very mighty horse that we are giving to you as a gift." I mean, the statue of a horse. Unknowing to the people that were getting the gifts, that those people giving the gifts, they already putting assassins, soldiers into that statue. Inside of the statue, there were soldiers waiting to enter into the city. So once those people opened their city gates to receive the quote unquote the gift, they met the gift and a little bit more than the gift. And that is what Trojans are. They are sneaky software designed to get access to your computer or to your systems, right? To be able to do what they actually came for. They don't care about making you happy. They came to do something, and that thing that they came to do is not to say hi to you, right? Is to steal information, steal credentials that can make them richer, because everybody's looking for money. And some people unfortunately do it through illegitimate means. That's it. I think my next slide will talk about ransomware attacks. This one is ransomware attack. I believe one of the facilitators that we're having here has a personal experience that I witnessed myself, and I believe it was from downloading something like I believe it was CorelDRAW online, downloading it, and then what happens after some days of using the quote unquote software that they downloaded, all of their files in their laptop. Now, of course, everybody's happy because our files can be backed up on the server or on the cloud. We have Google Drive, we have WhatsApp, where we can easily recover our files if lost. But then it was not like that. Everybody's school projects, your computer projects, everything was all in your laptop, right? There was no Google Drive to put it into. If you wanted to send files from me to you, I have to collect a USB file, a USB driver from you, collect it, and then put the files inside the USB, and then give it to you so that you can copy it from the USB. That was how files were being shared then, right? So imagine somebody having, let's say, a list of everybody in the church inside his laptop in an Excel file, or a very important document, or a partnership proposal, or something that was worth millions of naira in his computer. And then all of a sudden you just wake up one day and see that when you try to open that PDF file, the PDF file is not anymore a PDF file. It is now a .555 file, right? You don't know where that file has gone to. The person has literally taken away all your files and turned it into something else, right? You can't open the files anymore. You can't see the information there anymore. And these files are really important to you, right? That is ransomware. Then all of a sudden you just see one file on your desktop, readme.txt or readme or openme.doc. You open it and the person is telling you, "Hi, we are anonymous." We are anonymous and we have taken control of all your files, right? For me to release your files for you, this is how much I want. You have to send $500,000 or $5,000 or $500 sometimes if they are very, very Christian-like. I mean, if they go to church, they would bring down the price for you and then tell you to to pay certain money to so place, and they will release the files for you. That is ransomware. They hold your computer to a ransom, right? And of course, one thing that I would want us to notice that these attacks, the best hackers or the best threats are not the ones that give you one. They use all of them in combination, in sequences, to be able to have just one thing that they want, right? I like to believe that if somebody is out there to get you, and the person is skilled enough, the person is competent enough, the person will get you, right? You just want to make it difficult for the person so that while they are like doing it, they probably give up to have a change of heart. So yes, that is ransomware attacks, and I hope you understand that. Yeah, so exactly, they lock your data, they ask you to pay. Sometimes, even when you pay, your payment also goes to the wind as well. OTLO is gone, right? They don't have any intentions of restoring access to your files for you. They just want you to pay, and I mean, it's like a kidnap attack, right? If somebody kidnaps your loved one or so, sometimes even when you pay the ransom, they still go ahead to do what they want to do. Or they might have killed the person a long time ago and still ask you to pay ransom. So that is what the ransomware attack is. Now, these are the ways that you know that your systems or your information is really vulnerable. Okay? If you are using outdated software, that's why even we as developers, every day, at least once a week, yes, that is fair. At least once a week, I get an email from GitHub telling me that XYZ vulnerability is found in XYZ software that is being used, right? But the owners have fixed it, so upgrade the software that you are using to be able to enjoy the new security benefits. Even WordPress that is as big as it is, there's a lot of things that you see WordPress announcing. Oh, so plugin, so team has an issue that is causing hackers to hijack data from people that are using that software. Even Chrome itself is not safe, right? There's a lot of security vulnerabilities everywhere. You just want to make sure that you are keeping yourself as safe as possible. So the same way there is different types of sickness, that's the same way there's different kind of security vulnerabilities online. And I know I'm using a little more than my time now, so I'm going to wrap this up very shortly. Yes, we have HIPAA. We'll be learning more about HIPAA from our other facilitator later on. And HIPAA is the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, right? If you have someone's information, you need to be accountable for it. You need to be accountable for it. If anything happens to it, you are the one that is liable for it, right? You need to make sure that your patient data is kept confidential, and there are also legal and ethical consequences that you can suffer if exploits or if your client's information is lost or is mishandled from your end. We are going to learn about that later from our third facilitator today. And yes, again, this is not just a one-off event. We are going to be having this kind of workshops regularly. And again, what we want to do is train and educate everybody on the kind of threats available. And I believe at the end of workshop today, I would also be announcing some of the new security protocols that we'll be having with our therapist at my therapist or NG. And I sincerely hope that we've learned a little from my talk today. and I think I'll be handing over the stage, the imaginary stage now. So they're doing.
Wow, can you please give Oluwaseun a round of applause? Okay, you're already doing justice. You see the energy. This is the type of audience I like. Thank you. Thank you so much. Amanda and Ajibola were just cracking me up in the chat. If you're not following the chat, you're missing. Amanda has one to go and burn her laptop. And Ajibola has given us a new patented slang. Otilo is gone. Okay. So I'm really enjoying this. I can't believe I'm enjoying a cybersecurity conversation this much. I feel guilty, almost guilty. Okay, so we have other speakers in the house. Yeah, Amanda, it was so informative. I'm so surprised that I didn't know so many things. I'm very humbled, very humbled. Yeah. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay. Yeah, so we are going to take a few questions. I don't know if we should take questions now or after all the what's the word? After all the speakers have a go. Oluwaseun, what did you have in mind? Is it after everything, or should we take questions pertaining to your talk first?
I think some of the questions that they would have would be handled by the upcoming facilitators, right? So any question that you have, please note it, and if it's not answered by the facilitators coming next, then I will definitely still be here to answer.
Okay. Solid. So we are on board then, and we are on course. All right. So our next speaker is someone that knows their onions, and I'm very, very excited to have them in the house. Now, before we start, I would like for us to just take like 2-3 minutes to breathe. I mean, we've had this avalanche of information, so we are not going on a break where we leave the room. It's just like 1 or 2 minutes to breathe before I introduce the next speaker. Okay, so I'm just going to mute my mic so we can just go grab water, and we are going to commence on the dot of 3:12. All right, so just 2-3 minutes to breathe, pretty much. Okay. I'm so impatient. Sorry. I realized 3 minutes is too long to breathe. You just need to go in, out, and you're good. So I hope you have water by your side. And I am delighted to invite our next speaker on stage. I'm going to read you their fantastic bio so you can see the remarkable person we are working with. Okay, so we have Success Taiwo, and she's the programs lead at Cybersafe Foundation. She's a cybersecurity awareness evangelist with more than 4 years of experience. Right. Success Detiem Taiwo has led successful technology and education initiatives. All right. And as the Cybersafe Foundation programs lead, she has, sorry, give me a second. Okay. As a Cybersafe Foundation programs lead, she has led capacity building and cybersecurity awareness training programs, empowering over 110,000 women and girls with programs, including the Cyber Girls Fellowship and Digi Girls training program. Also, she has effectively overseen public awareness initiatives that have reached over 113 million individuals to decrease cybercrimes in Africa. She committed herself to bringing about good change by volunteering to teach kids about privacy and cybersecurity, support neurodivergent people. Now, I like this part of the bio. I really like the part of neurodivergent support and advance gender inclusivity. All right. So, Success Tower. So I'm going to out myself a bit. One of the greatest fears of any facilitator is to murder names. And I broke the frames of my glasses a long time ago and have been very stubborn about getting new frames. Glass people in the house, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. The struggle is so real. And for the life of me, I was in Taiwo instead of Taiwo, and I still don't know how to do justice to the name. So when it's time, Taiwo will come and help with the pronunciation. Okay, so the conversation will be very interesting, and I would want you to give a round of applause to Success Tower as she takes the stage. Put your hands together for Success Tower.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Don't worry, you're forgiven.
Thank you. I was waiting for you to say that. Oh my God, I can go and drink water now.
No, definitely forgiven. It's quite a unique name, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Success Tawo. There's no I in it. My first name is Success. My last name is Tawo. All right, it's such a pleasure to be here. Permit me to have my camera turned on. I noticed the facilitator before me did not have that, but if I'm allowed to, I would really appreciate that. Okay, so very quickly, I understand that we've been here for quite some time, and I have no intentions of keeping us here longer than necessary. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started my session. I couldn't help but notice, Doyin, I hope I pronounced your name right. I can't share my screen. Could you help with that? There's something happening to that whenever I try to.
Okay. I'm going to Oluwashemi is on it. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay, if you can see my screen, everyone, just let me know so we can get started. All right. So my name is Success Tawo, and today we'll be taking a session on data security and compliance essentials. I don't wish to bore you with my bio. Thankfully, Adedoyin has helped with that. Just a fun fact. Did you know that 95% of cybersecurity breaches are caused by human error? If you knew this, you can just let me know in the chat box. But did you know this? Right. And most of those cyber attacks that happen that lead to these data breaches, come from just, slight errors that include you just double clicking on some link you saw in an email, just really quickly out of curiosity. And most times, you haven't been updating your softwares, you're still using default usernames and passwords or easy to guess passwords. You've lost your device. For those who lose their mobile devices like I do, you just lost your device and you know what, they can keep it. You didn't take certain precautions afterwards. Or, you just said a little too much on social media and took a picture you were not supposed to take, and basically you let that data out there. I'll give an example. Someone got their citizenship to, I think, Canada. I think that was 2 weeks ago, and she took a picture with her passport. And she just meant to show us that, she's not a Canadian citizen. But unknown to her, she showed her passport number as well, as many other personal details. Now, people were kind enough to nudge her and say, watch out for that. You had that information out there, but the information was already out in the open. She took down the post, but say, for example, I had screenshot it or saved the image, for example, I still would have that on my device. So, as you can see, it's just a case of human error. They say to err is human and to forgive is divine. Sadly, cyber attackers do not forgive our errors. So this is why we must be very careful. Now, for this session, I'm just walking you through some common misconceptions that we have. One of that is, first, I have the best technologies. I am 100% protected from cyber attacks. That we both know is not true, because technology alone cannot protect you from everything. We could have systems in place that will maybe, send spam mails to a certain folder, but it will take you not going there to go and take those actions yet again for you to be completely protected. There could be someone in the team who gets curious enough to just go to that folder and accidentally do that. Sometimes we could provide all of those technologies, and it's just a phone call that leaves you vulnerable to these attacks. So definitely technologies can't help us all. Another myth is that cybersecurity is the responsibility of only tech people. I know we have developers that are joining this call. We have therapists on this call, definitely, right? And we sometimes we say like, oh, that's tech people's problem. No, it's not. It's everyone's responsibility. And in fact, there's a quote I particularly like. It says, we are only as strong as our weakest link. If all of us were to put our hands together to form a chain, the point where the person can put pathway with their hands and separate us, that is the most important place, because that's our weakest link. So let's say, for example, we have a lot of big people, a lot of adults, in the train, and we have one place where a child, say about 6 years old, is holding the link together. If I were to try to make my way through where the child is standing or being seated, that would be quite easier. So remember that we are just as strong as our weakest link. And if all of us are not truly indeed strong, we are all weak and vulnerable. The last thing I want us to talk about in misconceptions: I don't have plenty money, I'm not famous. It's very unlikely that I will experience a cyber attack. No, who's looking for me, right? But that is very untrue, as anyone and everyone who uses technology is at the risk of being a victim of cybercrime. And so I'm going to end this with saying, you are at risk, and everyone who uses technology is at risk. So that begs the question, data security. Why is it such a big deal? We have been, I'm sure many people on this call have been in this profession for 5 years, 10 years, maybe 15, some maybe 20. I know there's no limit to how long you have been practicing. So why now is it so important that, therapists are gathered together and then we have this session? It's important because of COVID-19. I'll tell a very little story. But a lot of people after the COVID-19 started to seek mental health, right? Mental health support. And because of the COVID virus, most people could not walk into facilities. We couldn't have face-to-face conversations with our therapist and things like that. So everything went virtual. Thanks to platforms like My Therapist, we can find therapists online. We can chat to them about our problems. We can go ahead and have full-fledged sessions virtually. But this opened us up to quite some risk. And the risk in this sense was, because we are meeting at a virtual place, there's a lot of information that gets to float. We store our information online, notes are taken, they're put online. A lot of things are happening. Now we've realized that the mental health market is making some money. Oh, wherever cyber criminals hear money is being made, there they will be too. So they're looking for ways to intercept, how are payments being made on this platform? How can we steal this data and use it to our advantage? That right there is why data security is now a big deal for us. Remember, I said we're only as strong as our weakest link. So take, for example, the tech guys, I'll put it that way, were to create a system where, come here, record your data, have a platform such that you log in and log back out. But people do not follow the steps to stay safe. Would that system really work? No, it will just be a vulnerability that will be explored at some point. Why does cybersecurity matter to your business as a therapist? For those who are still having solo practice, for those who are under My Therapist as well, why does it really matter? You get to build trust with your clients. You get to protect this sensitive information, business continuity as well. I'm going to explain the concept of business continuity to you very quickly. Let's say, for example, there's been a breach. Earlier we had ransomware attack explained to us. And then there's a breach, and then you see the pop-up on your screen that says, come and pay $1,000, come and pay £1,000 or £20,000 for us to give your business information back. For the period when you do not have that data, can you properly function? say, for example, client A wants to walk through your doors. Do you have their records and can you refer to it? Definitely not. You cannot. So that's where, business pauses for a bit. Operations have to pause when cybersecurity attacks happen. And because that is such an important part, keeping the wheel running is such an important part. That's why cybersecurity matters to us. Obviously, there's a financial loss to things, but let's pause for a second and speak about a boy named Yeri. Now, Yeri is quite an interesting story for me, and I'll tell you why, because it's a subtle reminder of what we stand to lose when we do not take precautions. Take, for example, you are a young adult, a 22-year-old Finnish boy called Yeri, hanging out with your pals, having a great day, and then you go back, you get a notification on your phone, on Snapchat, and while you're trying to check that really quickly, you see a mail, and the mail tells you, your name is Yeri, this, you're 22 years old, you went to so facility to get, help at some point when you were a teenager. I'm going to expose all of the details you told to your therapist if you do not pay me £200. And if you don't respond in 24 hours, that money goes up to £600. And afterwards, we'll be releasing that information freely on the internet. Just think about it for a second. Yeri had gone through a process where he had to talk about abuse he experienced as a child, during his childhood. He had to speak about the fact that he was self-harming during his sessions. He spoke about the drug use and several other very harmful and what we may consider societally embarrassing things. Now, he spoke from a place of comfort with his therapist, and he had no idea that these notes that were made would someday make their place to the internet 4 years after that session was held. Now, this happened because one person had an admin account without a password. Can you even believe that? No password whatsoever. There was none. And this Finnish hacker decided to exploit that. And because they exploited that, people like Yeri were left exposed. And this led to several embarrassing things. It will interest you to know that while this person was still it was supposed to be a ransomware attack, and while they were threatening that they were going to get, I think, £408,000 from the company concerned, they mistakenly released the data to the web. So everything was now out in the open. They didn't get their money. The data was publicly available to everyone. And so those victims had to leave with such great hurt. So if you wonder why this session is so important, if you wonder why I'm going on and on and on and on about it, it's because of times like that. Times when our human error can lead to things that are beyond words for other people. Now, I don't want to bore us for too long, but I just want us to do a little test. And what is this test really about? It's about finding out if we have also been involved in a data breach, like Yeri. So if you can see my screen, please go ahead and type out that link really quickly, and let's find out if you've been pawned as well. All right, so really quickly, I need you to check, have I been pawned?
I'm not sure I can see your link. Your screen. Can you stop sharing and then share again?
Oh, let me try again.
Yes. So you can also put the link on the chat as well.
That's fine. But can you see it now?
No.
Wow. All right.
I don't think anyone can see that.
I'm going to have to try to share my screen again. Let me try. I'm really sorry about that, guys. Really not sure what's happening. It's showing I'm doing that here. Huh. All right, let me know if you can see it now. But for the link, I'm just going to put that in the chat box. I really hope you can see my screen right now. Daniel, can you see my screen? No one can see my screen. Wow, this is...
Can someone else try sharing? Daniel, can you try sharing so we can see people can see it?
For those who haven't gotten the link, it's in the chat box. You can go ahead and check if you've been pawned. All right, so while we deal with this, I don't want us to waste any more time. I'm just going to have to keep speaking without, so we don't waste any more time. Is that fine? Trust me, there's nothing you'll be missing on the screen that I wouldn't cover. Yes, I'd rather we keep it moving than waste much time. All right, so really quickly, I just stop sharing my screen and then we'll just continue speaking. All right, so very quickly, just check, have I been pawned? I want to know. If you've been pawned, I just need you to let me know in the chat box. I have. Just let me know. You can tell me how many websites, because it's going to list out how many websites. Amanda. She said no data breach over here. I'm very sure that email address is quite new, because if you have a Canva account, definitely there was a breach sometime back there, sort of other websites like that have been involved in breaches over time. Oh wow, Amanda, that's really nice. 5 years, no breach. Any other person wants to check? Have you been pawned? Okay. So while we have that, we're going ahead with checking that very quickly. Daniel, definitely. I have been pawned as well. At least I think I have an email that has been pawned and one that hasn't. So I need you to know first that it's most likely not your fault. You were involved with, you used a platform where they didn't take necessary precautions or were involved in a data breach at some point, and somehow you get to be the one bearing the repercussions. But it's nothing to worry about. I'm just going to be telling you how to continue to protect yourself going forward. All right, so let's talk about data. Understanding data. Why does data matter to a therapist? First is, we'll deal with a lot of information, from, like I mentioned, your therapy notes to just regular data about, your clients, their ages, their names, possibly religion, or other personal identifiers you may have. And this is a lot of information, and it's very important that we classify this information. Now, why do sometimes you work in an organization and you see that you can access A, B, and C? Let's say, for example, you can see the name and email address of a customer, but you can't see anymore. You can't see their previous purchases, for example. Or you can see the names and previous purchases, but you can't see their credit details, right? This is just a very clear example of data being made available to people on a needs basis. Now, this is what we encourage, a needs-based access. And how does that happen? We first have to classify that data. Now, when it comes to classifying data, I'm just going to group this very easily into 4 large groups, right? 4 large groups. First group will be personal health information. Now, this involves anything that has to do with the diagnosis, the details of the diagnosis, your therapy notes, medical records, and we will consider this a very high sensitivity data. Now, you will notice I would say some things are high, some things are low, some things are medium, right? So personal health information is high. What were the things they said in that session? You wrote them down. Those are private. Those are personal details. So you don't want them to be ever out in the public. So that's high. Why is it high? It's high because it would directly impact the privacy of this client and the confidentiality agreements you both have if it were to make its way to the public, and possibly even do a lot more harm than that. Right. The next one is personally identifiable information. So remember, I said the first one is personal health information. The second one is personally identifiable information. This just includes things that just specifically identify a certain individual. So their name, their address, their phone number, social security number for those who are abroad. We don't do that. We do NIMN here, right? So let's say their NIMN, their phone number, their address, all of those fall from medium to high. Why it range medium to high is knowing my name wouldn't be such a huge impact as much as having my NIMN will, right? Because you can use that to get several other things in my personal life, right? So medium to high, again, very important data. Now, the reason is because, there's context to this use. You can use these details to get more information. Sensitive personal information is the next, and it's a subset of PII, and it's a more sensitive and higher, it requires more sensitive and higher protection, this is important because sometimes people could be, discriminated or stigmatized because of this information. Let's say, for example, for those who are health practitioners, the HIV status of someone. Now, you are a therapist, this is something that they may also share with you if their struggles align with that. So say, for example, today I come out and I say, I'm HIV positive, and I say that to my therapist. Now, my therapist obviously will not stigmatize me or discriminate against me because they're educated and, informed that this doesn't mean so much. But let's say, for example, that information makes its way to Facebook, and there are lots of people who are not as educated who get to have a take. They most likely will say, don't talk to Success anymore. She most likely will infect you if she speaks to you. Or don't eat her food anymore. There's HIV inside it, right? All of these things are things that generally will cause, discrimination, stigmatization, and even personal harm to these people. And then the last bit of data, the last group is general data. These things are just maybe statistics. They're not so important. They tell a story, right? But not enough to cause any harm at all, right? These are grouped as low. So as you can see, data classification can go from low to medium and then to high. It's just for us to determine what information are we collecting? How important is it? Who should have access to it? Because sometimes we think that, because we all work in the same organization, everyone should have access to everything, but that's not entirely true. Except it appears it is part of the work they need to do. They shouldn't be having access to your therapy notes, for example, because that is high, right? It's on a needs basis, and you need, certain things to be done before you can allow that information go on. So if, for example, you want to stop being, you need to transfer, your therapy sessions to someone else, maybe the client has gone beyond the place where you can continue to support them, and you need someone who is, more advanced in training and experience to take care of them. You need the client's express, confirmation for you to do that, right? That's because that's high level. So I'm just giving you an insight into how data should be grouped and data should be handled. If you understand the group where it falls under, you will know how to treat it. Now, that's why I went through this whole hassle of explaining to you what groups they fall under. Now, top of mind, I'm sure that there's some things in your field you'll be thinking of right now, and you're like, oh yes, this falls under that group, right? This is something I cannot give without, proper express approval from my clients or from the organization I work with. Now we've understood how data works. We've understood that confidentiality is important. The integrity of the data, that is the state in which the data is kept, is important. Did I store these numbers and did the zero change to them? Like Excel will omit the zero, the first zero that comes, right? Did Excel omit that data? The integrity of the data. Did I store the data as a CSV and then come back and all the, say, dollar signs I added are all scrambled, right? So the integrity of the data is very important. Confidentiality, remember, I said, is important. That means nobody else can see it. No one can access it except you, who's allowed to see and access that information. And most importantly, accessibility. When I store this data, can I access it? Can I go expressly just log in and see, oh, these are the list of the clients I've seen this week? that ability to go in and fetch that data and go back out is accessibility. And all of these are important when it comes to data security. So I'm going to say it again: confidentiality, integrity, and accessibility, the CIA triad. All right, that's what we call it in cybersecurity. So let's talk a bit about securing digital client records. Let's talk about passwords. I'm saying passwords because they are the first step. I like to think of passwords like, your main gates. When you come into your house, or your main door, if you don't live in the gated, a gated compound. When you come in, you insert your key and you turn it and you go in, right? So let us find out more about passwords. I don't want to overflog this issue. Everybody here knows passwords is important. True or false? Good. But one thing we should also know is that passwords, anything that's protected with a password, is susceptible to certain attacks. There are certain things that can happen to it, right? For one, there could be a dictionary attack. What's a dictionary attack? That is, someone just sits down and starts taking words from the dictionary and trying so hard to find your passwords. Just random words, just trying that, pending which one will align with your password. So imagine if your password was beautiful angel 1234. The person would keep trying, and remember, this is automated. So the person will keep trying those dictionary words till beautiful will align, angel will align, and before you know, they're into the system. Brute force attack, that means they're just repeatedly, using an automated system. I'm not going to spend too much explaining in detail, but just basically means that, they're using an external system to repeatedly try to hack your password. It's just, like it says, brute force, a repeated continuous force till they break it. Malware, I think, the session before mine, we spoke more about malware, but, they could use malware to, try to get your passwords. Phishing is actually the most interesting part. That is going to be discussed more in detail more in the future, but it's basically a cyber attack that happens via email. Now, there are variations of that. There are variations of that include smishing, which is via text message, phishing, which is a scam that happens over your phone call, and all of those things. There's another one, shoulder surfing. If you've ever used an ATM before, you've most likely been somewhat exposed to this. When you're trying to put your PIN and then the person beside you is just, stretching their necks just a little, that's shoulder surfing. I'm just looking a bit, I could catch a glimpse of one or two, of the things you are putting down. Now, password attacks have been prevalent for the longest, from weak passwords to passwords that are strong, but the cyber attackers had the right tools in place, and these people had no multi-factor authentication. All of this have been happening repeatedly. So, what are some of the things we need to avoid when it comes to passwords? Right, I'll be going into that. But before we do that, I want to tell you that your password must have 12 characters, multiple alphabets, lower and uppercase, multiple special characters, the eye of a guinea fowl, the beak of an eagle, and possibly the blood of a virgin. Do you believe that? Who believes that your password needs that much? Definitely not. So to create a password, a strong password, there are very few things you need. Yes, you do need at least 12 characters. Before now, it was 8. So if you are still using 8 and you think, my password is strong, please, you need to go update your records. Things have moved. In the cybersecurity industry, things move very quickly. So if you were at 8 characters, please go back, start changing all of those passwords. 8 no longer works. At least 12. Notice how I stress the list, because more is better, right? The more, the merrier. It should have a bunch of special characters. So when I say special characters, your $sign, your @sign, your hash sign, your apostrophes, whatever you want to include digits as well, and mix it all together. Don't put it as in a sequential order, or repeat any character or a series of characters. So, for example, you shouldn't be, even if you have 12 characters, don't do QWERTY 1 to 9 and say that is a strong password, because Q is capital, and just it's not a strong password, right? Because QWERTY just is the is a sequential order of the alphabet on your keypad. A strong password should not, one, spell a word. If your password can spell an actual English word or a word in your language, let me say, for example, you are French. If it's a French word as well, you don't want that, right? If it is an actual word, that is a problem. Kick it out. It should also be a series of words that you are comfortable with. Kick that out. It should also not have a number from beginning to end. So say, for example, you don't do 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Kick that out. It should also be based on personal information. So your birthday is out of it. So don't be born on March 23rd and say, oh, my password ends with 2303, and you really think that is strong. That is not going to work. A family name, your pet's name, addresses, favorite color, your spouse's name, the list goes on and on. Anything that you can think of that that when they say that word is closely attributed to you, don't include it in your passport. Say, for example, I have a name that people call me DTM, right? Most people call me DTM. If I have a password, because my first name is not DTM, and I say, oh, my password has DTM in it, am I safe? I'm really not safe, right? So anything that is tied to your identity in any way, please desist from using it. I really wish at this point I could share my screen because I had a little quiz set out for us. But I'm just going to use the chat box instead. And don't worry, it's fine. We'll find a way to make this work. I'm not sure why this is happening, but we'll find a way to make it work. So I'm going to drop 2 passwords in the chat box, and I want you to tell me which of them is stronger. Very quickly, right? Which of them is stronger? The first one I dropped or the second one I dropped? Really quickly, this is not a one-way session. Good. The second one. Now, remember when I said, oh my God, the chat box is something else. Someone said, depends on your level of composure. If you're a Steez queen, you can maybe continue like that. All right, so it's actually the second. Now, Steez queen is a long word. It meets all the criteria. Soft characters, right? It has a bust of, special. It has a bust of, numbers. It doesn't have any special characters though. Or rather, it has one special character. It has capital letters, lowercase. But one thing it doesn't have is a dictionary word. Queen is a dictionary word, right? Steez is not a dictionary word. However, steez is an informal slang, right? And has been around for a while. So you don't want to do that. Rather, you want one that cannot be pronounced. In fact, if I can pronounce my password, there's something wrong. Why can't you pronounce your password? Try pronouncing the second one now. You can't, right? Now, when it comes to creating passwords, I will be honest with you, it can be very stressful. It can be honestly stressful. So there are 2 methods I personally encourage people to use when they can. First, I'm a big advocate for using a password generator on your password manager. Every password manager has that one where you can, generate a password for you. You can set the length, you can set all of those things, and you automate like the password for you. That's a good way to go. But say, for example, you're in a position where you cannot access your password manager and you need to choose a password. A passphrase is one way you can go around it. Now, what do passphrases do? They think of, say, for example, a sentence, and it makes that sentence into a phrase. Now, this phrase is not exactly that sentence, but say, for example, in an event when you think of that phrase, you can come up with the same password again. I give an example. I hope you guys can distinguish between the zeros and the O, but Osaka, London, at Lekki phase 1. Let's say, for example, I am stuck. I just need a password very urgently. I just say Osaka, London. If you notice, not everything is written properly here, right? It's scattered. I mixed some zeros to replace the O's, and the at is an at sign. Now, this is a very lazy choice. I'm just using this as an example for us. But if you think of a phrase, say, for example, you took a quiz and you scored 99, you took a French quiz and you scored 99, you can take the first alphabet. So French, capital letter F, quiz, capital letter Q, and scored, you can use the and sign and just make a phrase out of it, right? The next part is, again, this is the storytelling method. I had already started off on that. So a perfect example of storytelling is, I think of a story, something that happened in my life, something very monumental in my life, and I use it to make a password. So say, for example, the first time I took a French quiz, I scored 99% and won a cash gift of $20. So my password will be capital letter T, FT, LTA, FQ, LS, and the rest is in the chat box, right? I'm trying as much as possible for us to use the chat box so we can visualize this. Now, think of this as a password. Do you think this will be easy to get into? I'm not saying it's impossible to hack into, but it's a lot harder. And when it comes to cybersecurity, the goal is not to be unreachable or, impossible to hack. Truth is, anyone can be hacked, right? I think the person before me was saying how, if someone has the right resources and is, persistent, they most likely will get to you. Now, the goal is to make sure you are not the low-hanging fruit. Again, I repeat, the goal is to make sure you're not the low-hanging fruit. What does it mean to be the low-hanging fruit? It means that I'm the one who is easily accessible. I'm the one who is easy to reach. When I use a password like that, you have to be dedicated to my mission, to get through to me. You have to be very committed to trying to get to me for you to succeed. Now, we've looked at the passphrase and the storytelling method. Now, let's talk about managing passwords. First things first, do not reuse a password. One password, one platform. Think of it like your votes. One vote, one person, one individual. You cannot vote twice, at least in a proper system, right? So do not reuse your passwords. Do not use the key to your door. Don't let the front door key not be able to open the back door as well. What a disaster would that be, right? If your front door key could be used to open the back door as well. One day you'll be standing in front and then someone will come through the back door like, I was watching the front door, right? When you reuse a password, what you do is you make it easier for someone to attack multiple accounts when they attack one. Let's say, for example, somebody worked really hard and cracked the password for one account. What's that person naturally going to do? It's going to try to replicate that on other accounts. So say, for example, I hack into your Google Drive, your Google account, right? And I see that the password works. Automatically, I would like to try your Facebook. I use the same email and password. And if you are a lazy person, if you are the person who will just copy and paste, if I try, I will be lucky and I will get it. I will still try your Instagram. I will still try other platforms as well. So just think about it and think of how many platforms you've used the same password across. That's a vulnerability there waiting to happen. Now, update your passwords regularly. Generally, I advise that every 3 months. See, there are some organizations that there are stricter rules than 90 days. But as an individual, if you make up your mind, every 3 months, set a day on your calendar. Say for example, attack it as a quarterly thing. So say on the 31st, March has 31 days, right? So on the 31st day of March, I will reset my passwords. And I will do that again when June comes, on the 30th day of June, right? And doing this one, you will not be saying it theory. It's not like you will say it and you say it to the environment. No, you won't say it to the environment. You use your mobile device and you set an alarm, a notification to remind you, say, it's time to change your passwords. Why are we doing this? No affirmations. Why are we doing this? We are doing this to make sure, if, for example, there's been a breach and somewhere, somehow, these people did not take accountability. They did not inform us that there's been a breach. Because there's some small organizations that this happened with, where there's been a breach and they'll come out and they say, it's a lie, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. But it has happened. And these people do not take accountability and say, okay, we experienced a breach. Please go and, change your passwords. Please take precautions to protect yourself. Let's say, for example, they do not. You have already changed your password. So whatever details the cyber criminal has gotten, they can't use. They can't use because you have changed your password again, so it is invalid. So if they want to attack you, they will have to then send you a mail to maybe say, oh, the password reset mail, say, oh, change your password. And then if you're not paying attention, then maybe you can make the human error of clicking on the link. But other than that, you are a lot safer. All right. Say, for example, also you have logged in on somebody's device and for one weird reason or the other, you forgot to log out. This happens to a lot of people. Oh, my device died. I want to quickly check a mail on my colleague's computer. I want to quickly do this on my husband's device or my wife's device or whatever. And you do not log out. When you constantly change the passwords, those people can't access it as well. So just think about it as a way to cover your tracks, right? Think of it as working and cleaning your footprints. Right. So always set an alarm or rather a notification to make sure it changes. Don't use sticky notes. Some of us, sticky notes are the way to go. I'm going to say some people's names without saying their names. They have so many accounts to look after. Maybe they have clients they're working with. Oh, I'm using my therapist app for this. I'm using this for that. I don't want to be logging in every time. Right. So they just put Platform 1, this is my password. Platform 2, this is my password. And they just list it out there. Say, for example, you stand up and you leave your computer and I come in and I somehow by some luck, I get the first password and I just see the sticky notes there with all your passwords listed out. What was the point of even having a password to begin with? Right? So no sticky notes, no piece of paper. Don't store it as a Word document on your computer. Some people say, I carried all my passwords, I put it as a Word document or a text file, right? Do not. It's not safe. Remember I started with, people's assumptions, the misconceptions that no one is really looking at me, nothing will really happen. It wouldn't happen till the day it does. In fact, for this platform, I told you the story about where Yere experienced it. They're called Vastamo, right? On the day it happened, no one at Vastamo was thinking it would happen. The person who owned the admin platform who do not use a password most likely had forgotten it even happened that way, right? But this is years later, and someone, a young child, amongst many other patients, have to pay for it. So just be very cautious and remember, that your passwords are just very important. Why I encourage the use of password managers, and I'm going to encourage everyone on this call. If you do not have a password manager, get one now. All right, we have Dashlane. I think Dashlane goes for 700 naira for a year for paid ones. There are free ones like LastPass and the rest. Right, just go to your provider, your Apple App Store, and just download it. Download Dashlane, LastPass. If there are other preferences you have, just download it. If you don't want to pay, that's fine. But if you check, most of them come at a very little cost for the premium. So 700, I think 1,100 for certain platforms, you can get a paid password manager. Now, this will help you seamlessly log into platforms online. You can just auto-complete, your passwords. Your passwords are saved correctly. All you have to do is remember one password and you have access to all your other passwords. You can sync it from your laptop to your phone and all other things, right? That is very easy for you to achieve. Now, as a rule of thumb, I want you to avoid anything that has to do with Google Chrome or Apple Keychain. Is there anyone on this call that uses Google Chrome to save their passwords or Apple Keychain? Very easily, you're using your Apple, save password. All right, what I'll do is I think I'll just send some of this after the meeting so you can just maybe share the slides with other people, right? Very quickly, let me know. I see culprits. Please do not, right? Long story short, I don't want to drag on it. It is better to use a paid one than a built-in password manager, right? There are drawbacks to it. I do not want to go. I don't want to go into the details of it, but please avoid using it. If the vulnerability is insane, if something were to happen, trust me, you will be just as vulnerable. Right, so saving it on your Google Chrome, saving it on your browsers, saving it anywhere, that's not right. Right, so there's a stats that I ran into and it made me a bit worried. It said 52% of all people reuse their passwords for multiple accounts. And I'm really hoping that after all the minutes I've spent talking on this topic, that we who are guilty, don't worry, I've been guilty at some point in my life too, right? I make conscious efforts to make sure I'm not even guilty, even now with the knowledge I know. So don't worry, I'm not a saint, and I know you made mistakes as well. So please go back. The important thing is to make sure what you're not the low-hanging fruit and you are taking action. So go back and take action today. Now, when it comes to passwords, I've gone on about passwords. Let's talk pins, for example. Pins for a little. Some of us on our ATMs say, I'm going to use ATMs because, you know, that's and a typical case where 4-digit pins are used. There are other cases where 4-digit pins are used. But let's say, for example, you were born on the 28th day of December, 2812. 2812. I want to use my birthday so bad for my pin. How do I go about it? One thing I could do is I could take the number 4 and remove 4 from 8 and add 4 to 2. So that would then be 2416. That is my new pin. Is that my birthday still? And it's just as safe. So what I'm going to remember it by is my birthday minus 4 in 2 places. Right? Very simple way to go about it. Sometimes you may say, okay, I don't want to remember yet another number 4. Let's work with the 2s. So I take out 2. So 2 will be 2614. That is not my birthday, but that is still my new pin. So think about this as easy ways to just maneuver and think of ways to create pins that don't expose you, right? Because I know sometimes you're tempted to do, I saw somebody the other day, 9110. He said, when I remember 911, I just add 0. You know, I've seen 4199. And I'm like, okay, this is quite an interesting one. And the idea was, the 9 is double, I'm 419. And I'm like, okay, you guys have interesting twists to this. But in all you do, make sure you're very careful how you choose these numbers. Like I said before, your password is like your key. Except that in this case, don't worry, Bolanle, I'll definitely be sharing the slides with you. All right. Except that in this case, this key of yours cannot be shared with anyone. Think of it as your underwear, right? Your boxers or your panties or whatever you wear, right? Think of it as that. Will you give that to your sister to use? Would you give that to your brother to use? Would you give that to your husband to use? I bet not, right? I know some of us are in the culture of sharing even toothbrushes with our spouses, but passwords are the one thing where you're not allowed to share, regardless of, you know, what it looks like or how safe you feel. Please do not share with anyone. Do not write it down at any point in time, right? Very important. I know some people may say, oh, you know, my partner will feel like they don't trust me. There are ways to go around this conversation. And trust me, sharing it doesn't make either of you even more trustworthy in that regard. So if you're protecting your account, please, your money, where the money is, you hear people have, you know, instances where partners go the separate way and they say, oh, my account was wiped out. How did that person wipe your account? There was a moment of trust where the password was shared, right? So please, I know we love ourselves, we love our families, we love our friends, but please protect your passwords at all costs. It is the one stop guide, you know, to protect yourself. All right, so let's speak about other ways we can protect ourselves. You can monitor your accounts, right? Monitoring your accounts is very important. Monitoring your account is very important. Now, some of us may get emails, just come up to your device and just comes and says, oh, password reset. How many of you really think and ask yourself whether I sent a request for a password reset? Most people do not. They just instinctually check. You know, when you get a mail that says Google activity, you know, you just quickly go and check, what activity? You click. You're not even careful. You're not checking. We're going to be addressing that very soon, but that's something you should watch out for, right? And then with passwords, as strong as they are, as safe as they are not that safe. That is why we employ something called multi-factor authentication. What is better than one slice of bread? Definitely two, because I can put jam in the middle and I can eat it very well, right? Or I can put butter in the middle and I can eat it. Multi-factor authentication is that second layer, right? Is that extra that makes it all the better. Now, we have heard about multi-factor authentication. I don't want to go on about it for a minute because I know all of us, most of us at least, have heard about it. It's the ability to verify your identity aside using your password. And what are the ways we can do that? Email. Sometimes your Google will say, I sent you a code, a number, 5999, press it on the other device, right? We quickly just press it and validate. That is, one of the multi-factor authentication. It could come as, an OTP on your phone as a text message. It could come as an OTP to your email. It could come on an app, the application you download on your device, right? That is something you can have it as well. So say Google Authenticator for those who use that, Microsoft Authenticator, and some other password managers that have an MFA function. Now, when it comes to multi-factor authentication, personally, I would advise anywhere you see the option of an app, grab it with both hands. Any place you see the option of an app, grab it with both hands. That is actually one of the safest methods. Now, your text message is readily available, but let's take, for example, you lose your mobile device and someone is able to do a SIM jacking or SIM swapping, and they are suddenly able to receive your OTP on their own numbers. Do you know that's an actual thing? So I lose my device and they can just say, okay, right, I have access to the SIM physically, and they do their ways to maneuver, and by the time they are done, OTPs will be coming to the number that they want it to, and they will continue with their things. So if you have your OTP set that way, I think you may want to change it. Even phone calls as well, right? They're not entirely safe. Please, they're not entirely safe. So please, when you want to set up your 2FA for your Instagram, when you want to set up your 2FA for your Facebook, for whatever platform you want to use, where the option for an app is available, please take that option. The second best would then be your email and an SMS, right? Don't worry, they're also safe, but they are not as safe. Remember, I said someone can actually find a way to go in and do all of those things. So they can redirect your SMS, they can redirect phone calls to a new device. There are many things they can do. But you see, the app is a lot safer. So please always take that option. All right, so we've spoken a lot about, securing your client's information using passwords, password to the platform where you use to store their information, and multi-factor authentication. But there's another way we communicate with our clients and we share information, and that is emails. We have our emails, we have our WhatsApp, text messages, all of this. So we're going to be addressing all of those things together. There's a quote I really like, and it says, why hack technology when it is easier to hack a human being? Why do I have to bother myself with buying an expensive piece of technology, say $500, $1,500, when if I send an email to, say, for example, Ejiro is going to do what I want her to do? Social engineering has continued to, take advantage of human emotions to make us do certain things. In fact, I like to define phishing as when scammers trick you to think they are someone they are not, so that you can take harmful actions, right? That's phishing. And phishing is a social engineering technique. Social engineering just basically means that somebody is taking advantage of your emotions as a human being and your flaws as a human being to trick you to do things that are harmful, that are self-harming. And now, cyber criminals love social engineering. Like I said, it's a cheaper way to go around things. And so 94% of malware is delivered via your emails, because they know that if I send to 100,000 people, there'll be one person who will make the mistake of clicking this link. And that is what they do. It's a game of numbers. Remember, I said we don't want to be the low-hanging fruit. So please, this is what the session is about, making sure you're not that one person who goes ahead to click. With phishing, it is all about distraction and misdirection. Distraction in the sense that they will carry something, a very huge message, and they'll put it in front of you. But the real trick thing is that there's something else they don't want you to see the other way. Or they'll say, go to the left, when the truth is you're supposed to go to the right. So it's all about this misdirection and distraction. And some of the human emotions they use, desire. Do I want a new iPhone? And did they just advertise a bonanza for the iPhone? Right? Fear. Am I afraid? Did you just tell me my device has been infected with a malware? So just imagine you've come to this session and you are really excited, and and so all of a sudden you go back and then you receive a message that says, oh, your device has been infected with malware. You want to act, right? That is how they use fear against you. They use greed. When they say, click here to spin the wheel to get an iPhone. That's where greed. Why am I spinning this wheel? And how does spinning this wheel equate to getting an iPhone? The cost of iPhones are outrageous. How does that work out? Right? Urgency. Another case of urgency would be when they say, someone is trying to log into your account, check the activity. You are imagining that there's someone trying to hack you, so you want to act immediately, right? Or they tell you have 12 hours before this link expires. You want to act immediately. Panic, excitement. Congratulations, you've gotten the job. Excitement has come to play. Do you really think before you go on to click the next link? Not very much. Curiosity, and that is another thing. They just say, what can they say to get you curious? Look at what this Indian woman was able to do without hands. This Indian woman was able to dress her children without hands and legs. And you are wondering, hands and legs, how was she able to do it? Curiosity. You go in and you you'll be the big fish that they catch. When it comes to phishing, I want you to think about it like fishing, as in the FISHING. Remember, this one I'm talking about is spelled differently. I'm putting it in the chat box. It's spelled phishing. But think about it like that. They carry a bait, something you can see, something that appeals to you, and they throw it into the water, and you have to open your mouth. Remember, you have to open your mouth and take it in. When you do not, they are left disappointed, and their vices cannot come to fruition. Now, there are 4 ways you can get this sorted. You can confirm if a link is valid, if a link is safe. And I'm going to teach you guys in 4 easy steps. I really apologize that my slides are not able to show on the screen. And for that reason, I'll make the slides available to everyone after this session. So you could go back, you can read, you can share with people you can educate other people. It will be a very wonderful addition to the things you have, you have to, the knowledge you have to share with other people. Right. The first step is to verify. How are you able to verify? First step, do not click. Clicking is the enemy. Do not click. What do you do instead? You ask yourself the first question. Was I expecting a link? Whether you're on a Zoom call, maybe say, for example, you attend a meeting publicly, say, for example, something like this, and a link is shared on the chat box. Were you expecting it? Because sometimes some people come under calls that are this large and pretend to be someone else, and just drop links, and you can unconsciously, come in. Now, thankfully, this platform, we registered to be here. We were vetted to be here. So likelihood that happens is really low. But let's say, for example, it's NSPPD. I don't know, for those who are attending. So maybe you go to morning prayers on YouTube or whatever, and they're sharing links. Right? Someone shares a link and you just go ahead and click. Oh, I missed this thing that this pastor sent. So you click, right? That opens you up. So you have to pause and ask, was I expecting this link? Was this the person I was expecting this link from? And then the next step is, don't click, you hover. What does hovering mean? You take your hand, you go on your keypad, and you slightly move your arrow, your cursor, over the link in a way that you're not clicking, but you're rushing past the body of the link. I'm sure you must have seen this happen before. And when you do that in your mail, you see it show on the lower left corner of your screen, the link where the link is going to. That is what you want to do. You want to hover, right? Hover. When you hover your mouse around that link, it will show you on the left corner of your screen where the link leads to. The next thing is you do a sniff test. What's the sniff test? It's like a dog. When a dog comes around, a bag, it wants to check, does this look familiar? Do I know this smell? This smells like fish. This smells like ram. What does this look like? No, this is not the domain name I know. Did these people change their domain name? Why are they spelling Apple with 3 P's? Why is the L replaced with an I? And why does Netflix have 2 I's? Right? That's what happens during a sniff test. You're checking, is this a site I recognize? Does it feel familiar? And it's very important during the sniff test to be very skeptical. Being skeptical is a first step. Don't trust anyone. You know, when they say trust nobody, suspect everybody. That's how you treat every link. You trust no link and you suspect every link. And then lastly, when you have done the sniff test, if you can, copy it and you can go and check the URL scanners. I'm going to recommend one at the end of this session, right? You can go, it was lost for a second. Can everyone hear me better now? I'm really sorry about that. I don't know what happened to the network, just a glitch. All right, so like I said, you have to doubt it. And then when you carry that link and you go to the spam, the spam checker, one thing that's going to happen is for spam links that are quite popular, you will be able to see that, oh, this is a spam, this is a scam, this is this. But for things that are not popular, you may need to rely more on your intuitiveness. If you want to, I would suggest, if you're not so sure, go and Google very quickly those people's domain names. So let's say, for example, you're not sure if they are .org or .com. Go and Google very quickly, right? And then come back to that mail. Promise you, if you pause and you breathe and you think before you act, you will do yourself a lot more good, right? It's very important that you take all of these steps. Remember, step 1, you verify. Was I expecting this link? Step 2, you hover, and then you do the sniff test before you click on that link. Now, when you're hovering, some of the things to look at is it a .uk or is it a .com? Sometimes it's just a minute thing. So some people do not, they have taken Netflix.com. So I'm going to go and pay for Netflix.org and hope that, Mobology doesn't notice the difference between the .com and .org. Right, it's very important. Now, let's say, for example, you're looking at this link on your mobile device. I can't hover on my mobile device. So there's something we do, we press. You long press it, and when you do a long press, like you press the link for a long time, it pops and just shows you, a pop-up comes up and shows you, where it is going to. And most importantly, if after all said and done, you are not sure, don't click it. Don't click the link. If you're not sure, don't click it. Nobody will beat you. If you're not, you can send an email, some other place verifying. Say, for example, it is from a colleague. You can send a message on Slack and say, hi, Bolaji, you sent me a link. It looks weird, maybe on this platform. And maybe put a call across to Bolaji, like to confirm that's Bolaji's voice you are hearing. Because sometimes it could be that they have gotten into Bolaji's device and they're using Bolaji to get the rest of the organization. So if you're not sure, if you look at it and say, this still doesn't make sense, please verify it through another means. All right, I'm going to say this again. If you look around and you check and it doesn't make sense, verify through another means, or better still, but best still, do not click it. Now, shortened links are our friends. I used to think it was my friend. It came to make our lives easier. Rather than type out all those long 300, 400 character long URLs, we got to do shortened links that were about 15, 20 characters. Sadly, cyber criminals have decided to abuse shortened links. So one of the things I'm going to recommend to you is, if you see a shortened link, be suspicious, right? It's source. Make sure to check it. Take it to a URL expander. I'm going to be recommending one. You can just check it, Google it really, really quickly. It's called URL Expander. It is free. There's nothing I'm going to be telling you about that we paid for here. It is free. Just check the URL Expander and put it there. It will expand the link. It will tell you where the link is going to take you to, so that you will see whether that registration link for that application is really taking you to a Google form or is taking you to another website that you don't know, right? It's very important. Now, really quickly, we're going to be looking at phishing red flags. What is phishing? Like I said, it is when someone tries to trick you into taking harmful actions through email. So say, for example, I send you an email asking that you reset your bank password, and you just somehow find out, wait, this is not my, you go quickly, but you do not notice that this is not Access Bank's password resets domain. They have cloned it, or they have made it look alike, and you do not notice, and you type out. There was a time we used to get reports like that quite a lot. I received a notification saying that, I needed to change my password or something, or I had added a beneficiary and they told me to come and verify this beneficiary, right? They say, oh, you've added a beneficiary yesterday. Verify that you added this beneficiary. You're like, I did not send anybody money yesterday. Or which beneficiary did I add? Let me go and check. And when you go and check, they tell you log in. Now they've created a domain that looks like, you say, your Access Bank domain, and they just trick you into putting out your bank details there, not knowing on the back end somebody's collecting that information to help you keep it. Right? So these are things that you need to watch out for. Phishing is very dangerous. Now, some of the things to look out for that are popularly known with phishing: generic greetings, spellings, grammatical errors. I'm not saying we are perfect. We make grammatical errors, but there are some that you will see. They send that email, there's no spacing. You know that there's no way that someone sat down and typed this mail one for one and it's all cramped up like this. I receive some of them and I just laugh. I'm like, how stupid do you think I am? Right? Or there's an attachment that has no business being there. Or may have some business being there, but you notice that it is .exe, anything that's not PDF or Word. Or you even see that it is a Word or PDF thing, but it looks like it's infected. How do I know? You have to go and check, right? Or it tells you something that's too good to be true. Or it tries its best to, induce extreme emotions. Like I said before, they are using your emotions against you, right? Greed, whatever it is, greed, excitement, they're using all of this against you. Or it's trying to, extreme emotions. Oh, I got the job. And then you check the attachments. This happens a lot for people who are drug hunting. The attachment is harmful, or the link they told you to click on to go and put your details are not for real. So you need to be very conscious. When you're working with these things, you need to look out for inconsistencies. You have to look out for inconsistencies with, how things are, the email to the name and all of those things. So for example, the name, when you look on your mobile device, the name is Success Tower, but the email is carrying some very strange name that you don't understand, or the alphabets don't make sense, or it's using some random numbers in between that you don't get. These are things to look out for. How do you not stay hooked? You stop and think, you verify authenticity and all of these things. You report it. So whenever you see, you must make sure to report it. How do I report? There are ways to report to Google. Google has a reporting system as well right now. You can Google that very quickly and, report those things. Now, I want us to take a phishing simulator quiz, not on this call. I really wish we could do that on this call. Sadly, we can't do this on this call, but I've dropped the link. And I want us to just make a scout promise that once we get off this call, we'll spare 15 minutes. It takes less than that to take this Google simulator test. Now, this is not the only simulator available online, but what does this do? This shows you what phishing attempts could look like, and you will make attempts on your own to spot them. Let's see how many you can spot, right? How many can you spot really easily on your own? So go ahead, make sure you take this quiz at the end. Again, like I said, it's very important that we do it. Just try your hand out. Try your hand out on it and see how many you can get. If you do not get something right, don't be rest assured that the Google simulator will tell you this is what you missed out on. So that way you are learning while you are going about it. Now, there's some other tools to help combat phishing. I've shared a file scanner to help you scan files before you open it. Don't open it, say, for example, you receive it, you don't preview straight on your email and say, okay, I'm previewing it. No, don't. You have to scan it. So you can use the file scanner to scan it. You can use the URL scanner as well to check if these are harmful URLs. I've shared platforms that make this possible. So on the next step, keeping your data safe. Right, backups are your friend. That's the first thing to note. Backups are your friend. How do I mean? Backups protect you when all else fails. Say, for example, you have taken precaution, you have stored this information well, something has happened for some weird reason, the platform shuts down, or something happens and we can no longer access our information. What do we do? If, for example, Google should shut down right now their services, that's rarely happening, right? But they should. What will happen to all the information you have saved? Which is why backups are your friend. And you don't back up only to the cloud. You back up to your local devices, you back up to flash sticks if you can, and to hard drives if you can, please, very importantly. Now, some of us are used to backing up, but most of us don't go back to check if our backups are properly stored. So very importantly, make sure you occasionally, like I said, you set alarms for these things, you set reminders for these things, to go back and check occasionally that your information is still stored and organized properly, right? Backups are very helpful. When we lose our access to our devices, when we use our mobile phones, when we lose our laptops, when we lose all of these things, what we can only come back to are backups, right? When it comes to keeping your data safe, like I said, strong passwords, using temporary emails are also important. We are people who handle very sensitive information. It will be very detrimental to use the same email you use to save for your bank details, for your banking activities, to use it to sign up to newsletters online. I don't know how many of us do that. So I'm going to just make sure we stop that today. Please create a temporary email. A temporary email you can use to register for all those things that we quickly do online. Oh, a newsletter, or sign up to maybe a conference or something, right? Let us separate duties for these our emails. Let it not be that the email you're using for your banking details are the same thing you're using for your backup, and the same thing you're using for your job, and the same thing for everything. Specialization is important when it comes to emails. I'm not saying have so many emails you can't keep track of. No, I'm saying for the things that are most sensitive, try as much as possible to make sure those emails that are connected are not forward facing. Let that not be the email that is available on your card that you give out to people. All right. Like I said, there's the slide deck will be available to us all, and there I detail what to do when your device gets stolen. I detail how to protect your assets and your devices as well. Now I'm going to just conclude with something. When we come to the place of data breaches, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame that comes with making a mistake and being the vulnerable one. Now, we are therapists, and we know what we tell to people who have been in places where they're exposed to places, to things that people will call shameful. We tell them nice things. We tell them to buckle up. We tell them not to be ashamed. We tell them to open up. We tell them to forgive themselves, right? These are words we tell to them. And so I want to tell those things now to you. When there's a breach, when there's an error, when something bad happens, and it's just because of a point of negligence, it's first important that you what? Forgive yourself. It's next important that you acknowledge that it could happen to anybody. It's not your fault, maybe, but it's a lesson to learn from, right? It's also important that we learn that we need to take action immediately, and whatever actions we take from the point when the incident occurs to the point when something is done about it is very important. What do I suggest? Don't panic. Be calm. It has happened. It has happened. You have filled out your details in what you consider a scam website. That is great. It has happened. Don't panic. The next thing you need to do, if you find out it's been an infection, you need to unplug your computer. You need to contact technical support. You say, for example, you have a tech team you work with, inform them immediately. If you do not, there are software repairers that live in our area, you can just take it to them for them to help if you don't have access to a cybersecurity professional. Next up, log whatever happened. Now, when I say log, check what time did you make that action? Take that action. What were the events that occurred before and after? It's very important that you remember these things, because when they're trying to solve the problem, they are going to ask questions like this. You want to remember, what website did you visit? If you were to in a hurry, just copy the link and keep, right? What credentials did you provide to them? Very important, because when you're reporting these are things that will help people be able to solve the problem, find the root cause, all of these things. Very important. Log this very well. Most importantly, learn from the attack. Like I said, it may be something that you neglected doing, right? It could also be something that's a recent development. Like I said, cybersecurity changes and evolves every day. You need to keep learning, right? It's an event that is something new and you're not acquainted with. It's very important that you go and learn about it, right? Go and read up about it. Go and say, oh, what's happening, and learn about it, right? Attacks change every day. They take new forms. And while they are taking new forms, it's important that we keep learning from them and getting trained. So don't sit down and sulk when this problem happens. Don't dive into your problems and say, oh, my own, I don't even need to know anything about this cybersecurity thing. All of those things are not things you should do. Now, it's very important also, if you work in an organization, you encourage that you have an incident response plan. What's an incident response plan? It is a plan that kicks place when an attack happens. What do I do? Who do I report to? What documents do I need to save? Who do I need to give my device to? All of these things are things that are listed in the incident response plan. I'm not going to go to the in-depth because we're dealing with individuals here, but if you work in an organization and you do not already have an incident response plan that has been taught to you, please go to your HR, right? Or your person in charge of compliance in your company and say, please, I do not know what to do when an incident occurs. I can't even identify it when it happens, right? Come and teach us, come and show us, and someone will definitely do that. Right, very importantly, before I end this session, I want us to just take a quiz while you guys are asking questions. You can go ahead and answer this. I've dropped a couple of 2, 4, 6, 8 things to help us assess our cybersecurity posture. This is not an exhaustive list, just 8 things. Out of these 8, I want you to tell me your score. Out of these 8, just tell me your score. Please note, if you're using a cracked antivirus, that's number 7. Just know that your answer is 0, please. Cracked is as good as, in fact, worse than not having any, right? So please just let me know what your score is over 8 in the chat box. I think I'd like to end the session by saying we have built a fortress. And this fortress is a place that is calm and loving and receptive, a place filled with trust that people walk in to share experiences with us, to share bits of themselves with us. It's very important that we make sure our fortress doesn't crumble. It's very important that we make sure our fortress doesn't become the place of torture for these people. And let us make sure we take the necessary actions to keep everybody safe and to keep ourselves, very importantly, safe. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll be looking forward to seeing your answers. I see someone has 2 over 8, 4 over 8. Don't worry, don't flog yourself. It is just a reminder that there are actions you need to take. And now that you know better, I'm sure you will be taking them. All right. So thank you so much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the session. It was a pleasure to be here.
Can you give success a round of applause? Oh my goodness. I don't know how success was able to do it, but we were all engaged to the very end. That to me is what magic looks like. So please help me celebrate her once again to the very end. The chat box is a party. The chat box is a party. Okay, so I'm a little between and betwixt because in as much as we did get so much value, we are very, very way behind time. So without much ado, we might be looking at how to manage our remaining time. And I'm happy to bring up the next speaker. So we are coming to the end of things, and soon I'm hoping that if you are available, you can still get to ask the questions that you have. All right. So just keep them coming in the chat box. Keep them coming in the chat box. I'm sure that they'll be attended to. Okay. So I would want for us to go straight to the next session for today. And I'm happy to announce that we have Isaac Damian in the house. Now, Isaac Damian is a cybersecurity expert and the founder of Teens Can Code. If you know Teens Can Code in Lagos, Isaac Damian is the remarkable brains behind it, and he's a seasoned cybersecurity specialist and the founder of Teens Can Code, a non-profit organization that offers free computer programming education to teenagers in low-income regions in Nigeria. His work provides young people with the necessary technological skills and connects them to valuable opportunities, right? Isaac's initiative promotes online safety and digital literacy, making him a perfect fit for a workshop on safeguarding therapy practices in the digital age. His honors include the Queen's Young Leaders Award and a Leap Africa Social Innovators Program Fellowship. Okay, so put your hands together for Isaac. He's going to be covering understanding cyber threats and securing online sessions. Please give him a round of applause. Do not be tired. Isaac is a very remarkable speaker. I've heard him speak, and I'm sure that you will get value for your time. Thank you very much for doing him a warm welcome. Isaac Damian, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you so much, Dedoy. Yeah, thank you everyone for the warm applause. All right, so I'm sorry I can't turn on my video. I have to really apologize for that. I'm actually in the car. I've been talking to Oluwaseun for a few minutes now about that. So yeah, I can't turn on the video right now. But yeah, I'll go straight into this. I hope we can all hear me. Just a thumbs up, just to be sure that everything is okay. Okay, nice. Okay, yeah, so my name is Damian Isaac Ezirim, and I lead partnership at Virtually Safe. And Virtually Safe is an organization helping to provide online safety resources for young people and their carers. And when we talk about the carers of young people, that includes their parents and educators. So we do this in a few ways through campaigns, workshops, and we've also, produced an amazing online safety board game for families and online storybook as well for kids ages 6 to 10 years. So everything we do about Virtually Safe is about online safety. So if you follow us on social media, you can, add any of those materials, the board game and the storybook for kids. Yeah, so first, let me thank you guys for the amazing work that you're doing in the mental health space. I listened to some part of DTM's talk, and she's really, talked so much about various attacks. And of course, I also heard when she was talking about how to, set a good password and all that. She's really said a lot of good stuff. And I'm sure they've also talked about what cybersecurity is. So basically, cybersecurity is the act of protecting network devices and data from unauthorized access or criminal use. And let's go. It's showing me. Sorry, my laptop is showing network. It's crazy. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. It just popped up a network, whatever. All right, yeah. So the truth is that since COVID-19, there's been a huge advancement in technology due to the increased usage. After COVID-19, young people were forced to use tech, businesses went online and all that. And the truth is, with this technology advancement comes with lots of challenges, because the bad guys also use the advancements to advance their own scheme. So it's a case of the bigger the technology, the bigger the problem. For instance, technology has also enabled the work that you guys are doing right now, looking at the app My Therapist, right? Before now, maybe it wasn't possible to have like telecommunication with clients over about their mental health and things like that, things that has to do with health. But today, technology has powered um, that feature, and we have apps like My Therapist. So this also mean that if My Therapist was just doing a one-on-one physical meetings, their problem will be small, right? But now, since they decided to go online, it also means that it is they are a potential for threat, right? Because every advancement comes with its own threat. So people see My Therapist as a valuable platform to get certain data, get people's billing records and all that. So they are going to attack platforms like that. So what I'm basically saying is that every technological advancement comes with its own unique challenge. So let me just go straight into why this is really very important, right? I know that cybersecurity is very important for every industry. However, because when it's breached, when cybersecurity is breached in any industry, it costs a lot of money, right? It's very expensive to maintain. But for some industries, like okay, okay, so okay, Oluwaseun, I saw that. Thank you. So it's mytherapist.ng. Yeah, thank you for distracting me. Anyway, so, but for some industries like the healthcare, cyber attacks can go beyond financial loss. It can go beyond a breach in privacy. It could actually even cost people's life. Imagine a ransom attack on a healthcare organization, and maybe the doctor in charge is unable to access patient data because there's a ransom attack on their system. If they're not able to assess patient data and their medical tools, that means that it could lead to the loss of life, right? So that means cybersecurity is important for every industry. And I believe the same way it is for the health sector is what it is for the mental health industry as well. You guys hold like valuable data. You hold like valuable data because your system really contains troves of sensitive personal data, and the cyber criminals are looking for data like that. So I would also want to talk about the most common attacks. I know DTM has mentioned a few of them, so I'm just going to browse through some of the things she's mentioned. There's phishing.
Yeah, I think Damian might be disconnected. Um, so while we wait for him to join, I would like to bring to our notice that there's going to be a quiz that you should all take after the workshop. The quiz is going to gauge what you learned from this workshop, and those that take the quiz and pass it are the ones that will be given the certificate of participation alongside the facilitators as well. right? So if you would, please take note of the post-workshop quiz. I've just shared it in the chat now. I'm also going to be sharing it after the workshop to everybody who attended. So please take note of this quiz. If you can copy it somewhere, and after the workshop, please fill it as soon as possible. Those that fill the workshop, the post-workshop quiz, will be awarded certificates of participation. Okay, and I would also like to share that our next facilitator is currently online. We have Marinada Bema Alexander from Marinada Legal here to walk us through some of the legal aspects of running a therapy practice. Right, as a therapist, what kind of data protection laws should you be aware of? What kind of legal steps do you want to put in place for your therapy practice? Okay, and I will also chip in that for any therapist here or for any aspiring therapist here who wants to be a part of the Afro Optimism event tomorrow, please reach out to Daniel or myself, and we'll be able to have a ticket made available for you. It's an event where you can come and have fun, and if you as a therapist also looking to grow your practice, you can come and connect with people at the event. You'll be given spots where people who are intending to get help with their mental health can reach out to you directly on that day physically, and it's a great avenue to improve your practice. Please reach out to Daniel, and yes, just send an email indicating interest for a ticket to Afro Optimism to Daniel, and we'll make sure that we get you access. Yes, I believe Damien is back now. Damien, if you're back, please can you say hi?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, come back.
Let me.
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Oh yeah, sorry, my network keeps going off. So yeah, I was talking about phishing. I'm not going to stay long on this because I heard DTM also talked about that. So cyber criminals use phishing scams, and it's also known as business email compromise. And phishing, it's basically attackers sending regular emails that looks like the same email that you would receive. They look so regular, and then they send them, and sometimes you don't even know that it's a phishing email. For instance, I did a spot the difference post some time ago, asking people to spot two URLs. That this is an instance to spot two URLs, and a lot of people, I think it was just one person who commented that kind of had an idea what the fake URL would look like. So what they do is this. Let's say, for instance, fidelitybank.com. The attackers can go register the same Fidelity and then bank.com, but the A in the bank could be like a Cyrillic alphabet, and it will be registered. So when they type it out, it looks like an A. You don't easily spot the difference. You would still see like Fidelity Bank, but the truth is the A is different, and the domain sellers would sell those domain as legit. And then people would think that I am talking to maybe Damian at Fidelity Bank, not knowing that this is a fake Fidelity Bank. And what basically they do with that is to build a website that would resemble the Fidelity Bank, so that when people go on, click on their, maybe the link that is shared with you, you look at their email, Damian at Fidelity Bank, it looks like it's okay. So what they do is share certain links with you, and then you can click on those links. And once you click on the link, the idea is just for them to get you to put in your details, and then
Yes, hi everyone. So I think I'm just going to invite our next facilitator. Damien just reached out that his internet access cut off again. So please, I would apologize for any inconveniences that has caused us. We also have the team still here to answer some of our questions. So please note them down, and we'll have time for Q&A very, very soon. Okay. Without further ado, I would like to invite our next facilitator, Barinada Bema Alexander. If you could do the honors of reading our profile. I believe the session is going to be really short. I think it's a 15-minute session, so it should still be on track.
Okay. Yes, I was just going to answer Ajibola's question. We have your time at the back of our minds, and we are hoping that Barinada will be able to do justice to the conversation within the remaining time frame. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Barinada Bema Alexander, who is an advocate for small enterprises and also a data protection specialist. Having founded Nigeria's top SME law business, Barinada Legal, she's committed to equipping therapists with the legal information they need to safeguard their practices. In this workshop, Barinada will give a quick rundown of the GDPR, HIPAA, and NDPR, among other data protection laws that are essential to therapists, and discuss their significance for managing client confidentiality in the digital age. So everyone, put your hands together for Barinada Alexander as she takes the stage. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the energy. Thank you, Barinada. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me. Oluwaseun, I saw your status where you said no one should shorten your name. Thank you. You're doing. I hope that I can finish this conversation, but you're going to pardon me. And if we do not finish up the conversation, because I had said something to Sean before now that the speakers, the last speaker, I think Success, did a great job, as far as data protection and compliance is concerned. However, I'm going to touch on the legal side of running a therapy business, right? Or running a health tech as a therapist in Nigeria. And I'm going to touch briefly on NDPR, Nigerian Data Protection Regulation as well. And then maybe after now, I can do a paper or do a slide presentation or something sent to Sheung, Oluwaseun. Please forgive me. And then maybe he can share with everyone who is on this call right now. So first, let's go straight into the legal framework for running a therapy health tech in Nigeria. First, you need to understand that, and understand that I have 15 minutes for this conversation. It's supposed to end by 5, so we're going to try. But first, you need to understand that you're building an actual business, right? You're running an actual company, you're playing in a particular industry. And notwithstanding the fact that you're in a particular industry, you're still guided by the general rules and regulations, you know, that regulate how people can do business or run their businesses or practices in Nigeria. So I just wanted to put that out so that for some of the things that we're going to be mentioning that you will need to have, let it not be strange or let it not sound strange to you. You're running a business or you're hoping to establish a practice, right? And if you're going to be, except you're going the route of setting it up as an NGO, as a non-profit, but if it's going to be a business where you intend to commercialize and use commercial strategies to make something out of it, become profitable, then just know that you're running an actual business. And so the rules are largely the same for you. So first thing first is you want to establish clearly what aspect you're going into. And this would help you to know the kind of regulations to focus on. So there are two types of regulations. There is the general regulation, and then there is industry specific regulation. These are regulations that apply to you because you're operating in a particular industry. In your own case, it would be the mental health space, or it will be the health space, right? So you want to be very clear on what that looks like so that you know whether you're towing the right path. Because again, this is the age of digital innovation and all of that. People are building different products, different apps, and putting it out there. But just so that you don't get to a point where it looks like you cannot proceed because there's one compliance that you failed to do, or something you were supposed to focus on that you did not focus on. It's important to clearly set these things, like get them out of the way before you even go all out to develop your product or put a team together, build an app, and intend to launch. I call it what's the word now? So you don't get trapped. You don't get stuck and unable to proceed further for lack of compliance. So what are some of these compliance? I've said that there are two types. There's the general compliance and then there are industry specific. Let's look at some of the general compliance that you need to do. So it may appear that one of the general one would be registering the business, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. However, let me just add that because we're looking at building a structured practice for you, I would say that registering a business may not be the first thing to do. Even though the law says if anybody wants to set up a business in Nigeria, you have to register that business with the CAC. But that may not be the first thing to do, especially when you are building with other people. So if you know that you're going to have a co-founder, right? You want to be sure that you and your co-founder are on the same page with respect to how you're going to manage the practice or manage the business before you even go ahead to incorporate. And why is that important? It's important because once you incorporate, a legal entity has already been established. Of course, you'd have also had things like conversations around equity split, around vesting, how long you want you and your co-founder to stick together before you earn the full benefits or rights of your shares. So without getting these conversations out, and these are just like few, in fact, just two out of more than 20 factors you probably need to consider, right? So if you don't get this out of the way, you would end up making blind decisions about how the company should be run. So, but again, we have less time, so I may not go too deep into what needs to have been done, but just know that if you tell yourself that, okay, I think I want to build something that looks like My Therapist NG. I hope you guys know that My Therapist NG is a standalone company. It is an mytherapist.ng. I have been corrected. mytherapist.ng. So if you want to build something that looks like mytherapist.ng, then you want to go all out and do things the right way. I know that we're talking about data protection, compliance, and all of that, but in all of these conversations, you can't rule out the fact that there needs to be some sort of structure, legal structure. It's like when you're focusing only on the core of the product and you're not factoring in the other things that you're supposed to have factored in, especially the legal side of things, right? And this goes beyond compliance. We're even talking about you being able to pull a team together that will stick together in order for you to even achieve your business objective or the objective for wanting to venture into this path in the first place. So if you have a founder or a co-founder, ensure that you have your founders agreement, very necessary. Ensure that you understand the implication of giving XYZ number of shares out. Then also you won't factor in the possibility of having other people on board in the future, having investors in the future, getting talents that you're unable to pay for immediately and compensating them with your equity. And if you factor in all of that, you realize that you can't randomly do 50-50 just because you want to comply with registration. That's why I said that's not the first thing to do. And then even while with the compliance thing, you also still want to look at what that particular industry requires, right? So, and that may prevent you from going ahead to even register. So if, for example, to register as a health tech, because that's the space that you're playing in, you need some form of certification to show that your license, or that one of you has the registered practitioner. Let's say you're doing something on mental health. You want to show that you have beyond the expertise, beyond knowing it, or beyond passion. You want to show that you have the regulatory compliance, right? So if it's membership of maybe Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria, or membership of Nigerian Association of Clinical Psychologists, whatever it is, just want to establish that, or maybe just the medical practitioner or something. You want to establish that you're not just two random people who have zero expertise, zero knowledge of how these things work, and just because you think you can set up a practice in this regard, then you now decide to go ahead. So you want to, if you don't have, and that's where the issue of building a team or having co-founders with relevant skill sets comes in. So you want to be sure that if I'm not a tech person, or I'm not medically inclined, or I do not have the relevant professional expertise to play in this field, let me find a co-founder, or let me find someone who has this expertise and bring that person on board. So you either decide whether you want to make that person a co-owner of the company, or you want to just pay them for their services and let them be a part of, and render their services to the company. So that's on that. Then, of course, beyond, you do your company registration. After you have checked all of those things I talked about, then you do your tax registration within the states where you are, and of course with the FIRS. And then, very important, to secure your intellectual property, especially when you're going to be innovative about your solution, right? Which is so let's say that you just know you want to do this, but you have zero tech knowledge. So you're going to be working with developers, designers, UI, UX, and all of those. Ensure that everyone who works for the company or who is working on your product transfers IP, intellectual property rights, in what they do to the company. And this is not a word of mouth conversation. This is something you have to have in writing. And so you're looking at your IPAA, intellectual property assignment agreement, duly transferred to them, to the company. Then you're also looking at whatever contract you have with them. So even in your product development agreement, you've hired a development team to work on the entire product and everything. Ensure that beyond having an IPA, it is also included in their engagement contracts. There can never be too much of protection as far as running a structured company that you want to become legally compliant and legally protected is concerned. There's nothing like too much protection. And then if you have employees also, there's something called invention agreement, or still that IPA too. You want them to, and this is how it works, right? In Nigeria, it doesn't matter whether the person works for you as an organization. You have to formally transfer ownership of IP from the employee to the company. It's unlike in the US, where automatically whatever is created by the employee belongs to the company. In Nigeria, it's the other way around. So you need your employment contract or whatever engagement contract you have with them have to formally transfer these IPs to you. Then I've talked about FIRS, I've talked about the CAC, I've talked about the fact that even while complying with the CAC, you may need to also have some form of industry certification, right? To help you be able to even meet up with the requirement of that registration. And so it's important that you have that sorted out. Then let's quickly look at NDPR, which is the primary regulatory regulation for anybody who is processing data, which is a core part of what you're building, right? You're dealing with, I don't want to use the word patient subjects, your consumers, the people you're hoping to target, you're dealing with their information. So it's important that you comply with their with the regulators framework, right? So this NDPR is the key regulatory provision for data protection, and it was issued by the National Information Technology Development Agency. Now, what this means that if you collect data of any sort, and that's why this is a key requirement for everybody who is building a tech-driven business, where you know that you would want people to hop on your website or on your platform or your app, and first, before they go further, you're asking them for their name, you're asking them for their age and some key information. In your own case, you're hoping to deliver health solutions to your subjects. Again, I don't want to use the word patient. Obviously, you're going to do a lot of data collection, and so it is important. That's why I said I wanted to just focus on the legal aspect, because a lot has been said about cybersecurity and how to protect yourself and all of that. So, but let's look quickly at the NDPR first. If you're doing any transaction where you're going to be processing data, personal data, right, then you want to be sure that the it follows the guidelines that have been provided by NDPR. And this also means that you cannot just, without their consent, obtain their data. You need to get their consent before you can get any data. And that's why there are two policies that you would definitely need to have, as a matter of, even if you don't have any policy at all in place, right? You must have your privacy policy. You probably also must have your terms of use. Almost all of the platforms who are serious about data protection have a privacy policy. So if you have a website or anything where you expect to have visitors and you do not have an actual privacy policy, you're already in breach. It's already a problem. So the privacy policy would tell you, for example, how this data is to be collected, what you're going to do with the data, and why you're collecting that data in the first place. So again, with the fact that you're informing them, they also have a right to correction, right? If they feel like, oh, the data you have of me isn't correct, they have a right to reach out to say, I want my data to be corrected. Particularly, they also have a right of erasure, which means that if they no longer feel safe or comfortable using your platform, they have a right to have you erase their data. So no backup, no nothing. They want their data completely erased. You can also call this the right to be forgotten, right? And all of these things are necessary to show that, okay, you're complying. Then if you process large data, you also want to have a data protection officer in your company as well. Other policies that you might have in place, data breach policy. If there's been a breach of data, you want to have a policy. Now, when we say policy, we're not just saying words of mouth. On Instagram, a lot of vendors would put things like no cancellation, no refund, no return. On their bio, you see XXX. In their mind, when you ask them, oh, do you have a policy again? They'll tell you, oh, yes, I do. The policy is not the fact that you're saying you're not doing. The policy is in having a comprehensive document that shows the step-by-step process of how these things are resolved or what happens in a particular situation. So, for example, if you're saying that you don't want people to be able to cancel an order that was made, somebody scheduled a session, right, with on mytherapist.ng, and maybe after making payment, they suddenly decide that they no longer want to go ahead with their session. How would that affect the company, and how would that affect the patient or the person who has booked the session? So this policy, a cancellation policy, for example, would help my therapist and to clearly say these are the steps to follow if you want to cancel your order. If you're canceling maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour, you will lose 10% of your booking fee or whatever of your booking fee. I'm just randomly telling you what some of these policies might look like in actual fact when you start to implement, right? It's a different ball game than just saying once you book, there's no cancellation. Remember, consumer protection policy also affects you as well as a business owner. People have a right to say they don't want to do certain things anymore. It is not a do or die affair. However, you must clearly put measures. So even when you're saying you're not going to be able to access this information or get this refund or whatever, there has to be clearly stated terms. And the best practice is for people to already get to see what these policies are before they go too deep. And that's why on some platforms, you say by continuing to use this website or this platform, you agree to our terms and conditions. Now you must put that terms and condition or privacy policy, you must highlight it and make it clickable such that somebody can actually just go there and read up and come back to accept or not to accept, right? So these are very, very important. Then third-party data processing. If your platform requires you to work with a third-party company, you also want to be sure that they have proper data protection policies in place for the safety of your own users who will then migrate to these third-party platforms. So this is because at the end of the day, there's something we call privity of contract. Your users have a contract with you. If you now decide to redirect them to a third party, if you're not going to be responsible for them, and this depends on the scope of the service or the scope of what they are getting on your platform, if you're not going to be responsible for whatever happens to them on that third party platform, you want to clearly state that in your terms and condition of use. Again, this is why whatever you use as your T&C has to be tailored for you, for your kind of business, for your kind of practice, and not something generic. And it also means that you have to have had an understanding of the entire process of what could possibly happen and also possible legal issues, so that you can now use that understanding to say, okay, these are the things that would happen if you take a particular action, and these are the things that would not happen if you take a particular action. Then, of course, there's the issue of auditing and monitoring, and there's penalty for non-compliance. There's penalties for non-compliance, and I think you can get fined up to 2% of your annual gross revenue, or 10 million naira, whichever one is greater, or up to 1% or 2 million naira for less serious violation, in case depend on the degree of the violation. So you need to, your staff, your employees, everyone who works with you has to be aware of these data policies, these data protection policies. And then you need to take practical steps as a company to enforce these things. For example, your privacy policy and your terms and conditions and other policies that you have on your page, we call it the legal pages. They are living documents, right? They are live documents. You don't do it once and then forget about it. So it should be updated as often as possible. And here's what I mean. So you have a privacy policy. You launched your business or your startup since, say, 2 years ago. You've never changed your privacy policy for one day. As a matter of fact, your product has undergone different phases of development, different things have happened, but you've been using the same data protection policy that you had since the inception, before you even launched officially. Because again, you have to have these policies live on your page before you go all out. So you've been using the same document, the same policy document, and then you've never updated it. It's very wrong. So if you are, like I said, just a quick recap of what I've said, because I think we've just passed 15 minutes already. Know that you're running an actual business, a proper business, and all the rules and regulations that guides running a business, including putting internal legal structure in place, is applicable to you. Then beyond that, ensure that you have someone on your team who has actual industry expertise, or who has professional expertise in that regard, and then ensure compliance with NDPR, right? Especially if your subjects are in Nigeria. Ensure compliance with NDPR, and if you're working in other jurisdiction or have presence in other jurisdiction, you also want to comply with our regulatory frameworks for data protection as well. So this is where I am going to stop for today. Thank you.
Hi everybody. Thank you so much, Marinada. Can we give her a round of applause? Digitally, of course. This will be the time where I would say if there's any questions that you would like to have answered while our facilitators are still here, please signify, raise up your hand in the comments. Sorry, raise up your hand using the raise hand function, and I will call upon you to unmute and then ask your question. So you can direct your question at either myself, Mrs. Marinanda here, or Success. So you can ask any of us questions that you might have that have not been answered. Okay, so while I'm waiting for any hands to go up, I also want to remind us that we have a link here that I've shared with the chat that would evaluate what you learned today. It's a short quiz. It's a short quiz, and you can fill it immediately. Okay. We'll also be sending a feedback form to you so that we can know how we did the workshop and see how we can make the next one even better for you. Like I mentioned earlier, we have tickets for Afro Optimism. If you're a therapist and you want to be a part of the event tomorrow, and you would like a speaking slot, please reach out to Daniel, send him your phone number, send him your phone number and your email, of course, so that he can reach out to you to plan your event tomorrow. We're also going to be giving transportation stipends to some people that will be a part of the event tomorrow. So please reach out to Daniel. His email is Daniel. I've just sent the email here, Daniel@mytherapist.ng. Just send him your phone number and give you a call tonight. Okay, the event is happening tomorrow. If you'd like to be a part of it, just reach out to us and we'll help work something out. Okay, we have a question here from Bolaji Johnson. Hi Bolaji, can you unmute?
Okay, thank you very much. I want to first and foremost appreciate all the speakers. You've done wonderfully well. So my question, one of it, I have like two questions. So I remember that was it Success that talked about, yeah, and then we should use different characters and stuff like that, and different passwords for different accounts. But I know that some of us have a problem with remembering our password. And I suggested, or I hope that the way to remember our password or what we need to do so that we don't miss it up or we don't forget about it. I can say that for me, I've lost some of my account because I couldn't remember the password again. So my question on that is, what is our suggestion, what we can do so that we don't forget the password? Since we are using characters that we may not be able to put in our head, that's that. Then secondly, I think I want to talk about the last speaker. I want to know if there is a law in Nigeria presently that there towards patient information. I don't know, maybe because what I saw HIPAA. I don't know, maybe HIPAA also applied to Nigeria or to US alone or to other Western world. So I want to know if you have this law already, or maybe it's something you're trying to borrow from the Western world that can be used in Nigeria. So I want to know because I'm a therapist and I use online platform to conduct my therapy with my clients. But I know that in US or UK or Canada, this law is very, very important. But I know in Nigeria, where anything goes anyway. So that's what my question. So I want to know if this law is is on ground already in Nigeria, and I want to know if the law is being followed properly. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so HIPAA doesn't apply to Nigeria. It's a US regulation, except if you're servicing your patients or your consumers are within the US jurisdiction. For Nigeria, like I said, it's mostly the data protection and some industry specific. It's mostly the NDPR and some industry specific regulations, which I think I clearly touched a bit about that when I was talking about the fact that you have to have industry specific, license or certification. So, for example, um, I mentioned I think I mentioned something on psychiatrists, National Association of Psychiatrists. So depending on what your platform is basically about, right, might be something as simple as having a medical practice license to be able to maybe render specific advice. And remember that you're not giving diagnosis per se, you're just advising. And that's also one of the things you want to clearly state. But to your question, whether HIPAA applies to Nigeria, no, it doesn't.
Okay, thank you. So I think I have follow-up question to that. Now we have mytherapist.ng in Nigeria. So how do we ensure that client or patient information is secure? And I don't know if you don't have that, because what you just explained, I think, is more like a general process for information storage for any business, but for information, because this is what I know that obtainable in US. So we want to look at health information record keeping is different from keeping other record of any organization that you may have. So I don't know what mytherapy.ng is up to on this, because if I want to sign up with this, as well as where I want to be sure that the information I have of my clients, is safe, not just a general template, but for health record template. And I think if you don't have it, for me, I think more still need to be done in Nigeria for us to have a law that can guide this health information record keeping than the general one. If I understand what you're saying, how to have a legal backup for whatever business we're doing.
There's actually a law on medical records. In fact, there's an association called Medical Health Records Practitioners of Nigeria, I think. So that's why, like I said, is beyond just having the passion to say you want to start another mytherapist.ng, you want to be sure that in compliance with what is required, because now you're going into a regulated space, medically regulated. There are different aspects to building a mental platform. So you want to be sure that there's actually some form of professional licensing, and these regulatory bodies or these bodies will have their ethical code of conduct, right? For example, if as a lawyer, we have codes that guides our practice. Now, we're only talking about this because the central point was on data protection. So if you want maybe specific information on how to protect beyond data, what the NDPR provides as protection of clients' information or your patient's information, then you want to now specifically go into the industry specific regulations. So, for example, if what you're doing is you're helping with mental health practice, right, then you want to look at what are some of those code of conduct. Generally, you'll be bound by, the medical requirements of confidentiality between a doctor and a patient. In your own case, when people give you that information, I think that the NDPR is actually broad enough. Now you now want to domesticate it to suit your own purpose, to suit what you're building. So even though it looks like it is a general regulation, you want to find a way to make it applicable to your industry.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I brought this up because I'm a clinical psychologist and I practice in the US. I'm currently you guys in the US.
So
And
I'm
I
sure
know.
that you have, as a clinical psychologist trained, right? I'm sure that you have some sort of ethical code of conduct for practitioners.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what you now want to do is get those, still comply with what NDPR says, and then domesticate that into what you're building. So even on your platform, you want this to reflect in your policies, basically.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
So I would also
You're welcome.
like that for some of the therapists here who are in-house therapists, for my therapist.ng, you would know that we have strict data protection policies in place, and in particular, I loved how ATM mentioned the CIA approach to cybersecurity. And if you check our core values at mytherapist.ng, we have something very, very similar called the TIC value system, which is transparency, integrity, and confidentiality, right? And if you check, of course, our privacy policies, our operating procedures that we share with therapists during onboarding, you know that all of these measures are put in place and more. In fact, I'm sure it was Ms. Barinada here who also helped us draft our policy document. So we already operate, by the standards set by the law, and we do a little bit more than that as well, right? Because of course we know how important it is to protect client information and even your information as a therapist as well, right? So as much as we protect the users, we also protect you as a therapist as well. And I think that is to answer your question about some of the measures that my therapist.ng puts in place for our therapists as well. Okay, and if anybody would like to enlist on my therapist.ng as a therapist, you can go to our website and just click on the for therapist link. You can see what the application process looks like, and I hope that we will be able to work with you in the future. All right. Is there any other question at all?
More question here. I said I have like three. So please, I think the lawyer that spoke, I still want to have this question. It's still regarding the patient's information. When it comes to release of information, I don't know if there's any law when it comes to release of information from one service provider to the other. I don't know what the law says in Nigeria about this as well. If you have
It's
any
still the
idea about,
NDPR that regulates.
say that again.
It's still the NDPR, Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, that regulates that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Please, once again, I would also appreciate our facilitator. She has been able to share a whole lot of knowledge to us. And to bring the workshop to a close, I would remind us to immediately fill the list before you forget. We are going to be sending out certificates to those that fill the quiz and pass successfully, of course, by Monday morning. I believe Success also had an answer to your question, Mr. Balaji. So Success, please go on and mute.
All right. Earlier, Balaji had asked the question. Mr. Balaji had asked a question about remembering passwords. I had mentioned during my session that you should have a password manager. So I don't know if you can, but just check your your app provider, your Play Store. Just look for Dashlane. It's a good password manager you can use, or you can use LastPass. I'm just going to type that out in the chat box. You can check any of them and just try using them. That's the easiest way to remember, because your brain cannot remember passwords for all of these accounts, regardless of how much you want to. So this way you have one password you have to remember and the others are saved somewhere. And also you make a culture to always update the passwords immediately they are created on these platforms as well. You need to make so that way you're not trying to remember your passwords because maybe you created it at one point and didn't and didn't um and didn't store it here on the password manager. And the last thing I think I would like you to respond to is, you mentioned that you had lost access to some of your accounts. If you can remember those accounts, I think you should just begin the recovery process. So maybe contact maybe it's Google, send them an email and try to recover those things, because what will happen over time is sometimes cyber criminals can find these accounts and use them to impersonate us to attack other people. So you may not have access, but someone could actually still get access to that. So don't just lose it and say, oh, that was an account I no longer use, that Facebook account, or, just try to go back and see if you can recover it. But to answer the question of remembering your passwords, the key is to use a password manager. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Etienne. I believe the answer to your question, and in fact was posted earlier. So I've just posted it here so that you can see. We can all start to live slowly now. But while we're doing that, I also want to remind us of Afro Optimism event tomorrow. If you want to join, please reach out to Daniel and I will make plans to include you tomorrow. We'll also be providing transitional stipends for people that are interested in attending as well. And like I said, it's a great avenue to connect with potential clients one-on-one, to be able to address people who are looking for help with their mental health, people who have questions for therapists. And yes, we had something similar in February. I believe Adriel is still here, and there were amazing feedback from both people that met therapists and the therapists that attended as well. So please reach out to Daniel with your phone number, and I will be sure to include your plans. Daniel, I'm going to give the floor over to you for any closing speech.
So thank you very much, Oluwaseun. It's been really awesome. For this workshop has been really been awesome. I'm sure a lot of us had a lot to learn, and we had a lot of unlearning too that we also had to do during today's workshop. So just to reiterate what Oluwaseun has said, if you are interested in the event happening tomorrow, please reach out to me at daniel@mytherapist.ng. Please reach out to me with your phone number so we can reach out to you and make the necessary preparations for you to be there. And also, we'll be sending a feedback form concerning this workshop to everybody. So I would implore and also use this opportunity to ask that you help us fill this workshop, fill that feedback form, so that for our next workshop that we'll be holding, we can we'll take your feedback into consideration and implement them to make sure the next one is better than this one. And if you have any suggestion, any questions, because of time that we are unable to answer, please do reach out to us. Send us an email at operations@mytherapist.ng, and we'll make sure to share that question with the necessary facilitator and provide you with the necessary response as soon as we get it. And also you can connect with this with the facilitators on LinkedIn. Success Tower, you can just type our name on LinkedIn, you would see it there. I believe before this time we sent out posts introducing every one of these facilitators. So you can go back to that post. Their link are embedded in that post. You can connect with them. You can reach out to them. And if you have any questions at all concerning this workshop or after today, you can also reach out to them. You can also connect with them, just as Harriet has said, to just say thank you for the wonderful session that we have had today. So yes, we will bring this workshop to a close now. So I want to say a very big thank you to everyone that joined. Thank you for staying tuned from 2 o'clock till now. We really do appreciate what you guys do. You guys are the real MVPs. And we look forward to the amazing things that with the knowledge that we have just recently gained. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you.